This girl was clearly dead, but when she opened her eyes, she found herself resurrected 1 year ago. What was even more strange was that she returned to the exact moment she was choosing a wedding dress to get married. Moreover, the salesman said to the girl was exactly the same as 1 year ago. Only then did the girl feel that she had truly returned to the past. The moment she saw her fiancé, the hatred she felt before she died immediately rose up. She only saw the girl approach and snatched the pen from her fiancé's shirt. She slashed her wedding dress, then resolutely pressed the bouquet of flowers on her fiancé's head and leisurely left. From here, the girl's journey of revenge officially began. The reason the girl was so determined to take revenge was because before she died, her husband had an affair with her own younger sister. Not only that, but when Yi-ju had a traffic accident in the last moments of her life, the mother she always respected said cruel words and then cruelly pulled the switch on her ventilator. The moment Yi-ju closed her eyes and waited for death, Yi-ju prayed to God that if she could live again, she would definitely take revenge on those who had hurt her at all costs. Perhaps because of that resentment, Yi-ju woke up a year ago to start her revenge plan. Everything started when Yi-ju was still a good daughter-in-law. That day, Yi-ju was sitting and drawing a family picture. She wanted to finish the picture and give it to her parents as a gift. Her brush stopped on the face of her husband Se-hyuk. Yi-ju felt that marrying Se-hyuk was an extremely happy thing. After finishing the picture, she received a call from her mother-in-law saying that in an hour, her mother-in-law would bring friends home for dinner and asked Yi-ju to quickly prepare the food. Time was urgent and the task was heavy, so Yi-ju had to ask her younger sister-in-law for help. Unexpectedly, Yi-ju's younger sister-in-law refused immediately without thinking. Helpless Yi-ju could only quickly clean up and cook. While cooking, she accidentally cut her hand, but everything Yi-ju did was not thanked by her mother-in-law, but was instead reprimanded. Yi-ju's mother-in-law thought that the dishes Yi-ju cooked were to deal with her. Yi-ju's mother-in-law also said that a young lady like Yi-ju marrying into this family did not respect her. Yi-ju did not explain, but instead chose to endure. Yi-ju gave a bank card to her mother-in-law to ask for forgiveness. Yi-ju's mother-in-law was secretly happy, but on her face she showed reluctance. Then Yi-ju's mother-in-law ordered Yi-ju to speak well of Se-hyuk in front of her parents. Yi-ju's mother-in-law wanted Yi-ju's parents to arrange a high position for Se-hyuk. Yi-ju wanted to ask Se-hyuk's opinion first. So on the way home to give Se-hyuk the painting, Yi-ju kept calling Se-hyuk, but he did not answer. She did not know that the husband she missed was at her younger sister's place at this time. In front of the crowd, Se-hyuk was not afraid to look at Yi-ju's younger sister with passionate eyes. When Yi-ju got home and saw that no one was home, she called her mother's assistant. Only then did she know that the whole family was attending an auction at the gallery. In order to give her mother a gift in time, Yi-ju hurried to the auction. The assistant asked Yi-ju conveniently to take the documents from the cabinet to the auction. Yi-ju, without any suspicion, held the painting in one hand and the documents to go to the exhibition in the other. But when she got out of the car, she forgot the documents in the car. Before going inside, she saw her husband's car in the parking lot. She went to the side of the car and saw an envelope on the ground. Inside was Se-hyuk's resignation letter. She had never heard Se-hyuk say that he wanted to quit his job. She went inside with many questions in her mind. At this time, Se-hyuk was introducing himself to the reporter as the son-in-law of the Han family. Unfortunately, his father-in-law had no intention of acknowledging his identity. Yi-ju saw Se-hyuk being treated like this and immediately stepped forward to put his arm around him, acknowledging that the two were husband and wife. This made her father very embarrassed and couldn't help but pat Se-hyuk's shoulder to show his friendliness. Yi-ju gave the family painting to her mother and waited for her mother and younger sister's reaction. Unexpectedly, her younger sister criticized her for being ambitious and only wanting to hang the painting in the exhibition room and receive praise from everyone. Yi-ju's mother also said that once Yi-ju got married, she would follow her husband. If she was married, she should have the thought that after death, she would be buried in the family tomb. At this moment, a group of rich madams saw this painting. Everyone praised Yi-ju's painting talent. In order to save face, Yi-ju's mother hung this painting in the exhibition room. Yi-ju's mother asked Yi-ju that if you had prepared the painting, I gave you seriously. Yi-ju nodded and said she was prepared. Yi-ju knew that the painting would be sent to a welfare facility, so she tried to imitate the famous work to look like the real thing. Hearing that, Yi-ju's mother smiled and told her to try to paint as much as possible like the real thing. Yi-ju saw that there was an oil paint stain on the side of the painting. While she was trying to clean it off, her younger sister's fiancé, Do-guk, suddenly appeared to evaluate the painting. At this time, Yi-ju's sister and Se-hyuk also came over. Yi-ju's younger sister showed off her fake skills. At first, she pretended that she and Yi-ju had a very good relationship. Then Yi-ju's sister said that Yi-ju had no aristocratic qualities. If Yi-ju hadn't taken the initiative to get to know him first, Se-hyuk would never have married Yi-ju. Then Yi-ju's younger sister ran ran over and put her arm around Sehyuk, saying that she and he were a better match. Yeju was very embarrassed, but what was even more annoying was that not only did Sehyuk not let go of her younger sister's hand, he also looked at Yeju's younger sister affectionately. To calm down, Yeju went to the bathroom to wash her face to wake up. When she came out, she almost bumped into Do-guk. Do-guk asked Yeju if she was really stupid or pretending to be stupid. Her husband and younger sister did not respect her at all, but Yeju did not want to accept the truth. She just wanted to please everyone and live a peaceful life. Yeju turned to the exhibition and saw Sehyuk looking at paintings with her younger sister. The two of them were talking and laughing. Even their backs were very intimate. Yeju wanted to go up and ask what was going on, but a rich madam blocked her way. This madam said that she could not find Yeju's mother, so she asked Yeju to introduce a painting to her. When Yeju introduced the painting, Yeju did not notice that the person the rich lady brought with her was secretly examining a painting. Very quickly, the auction began. The rich madam bought the painting just now and asked someone to examine it at a high price. When Yeju's mother Jung-hye thought that this time she would make a big profit, the rich madam suddenly slapped Jung-hye, exposing her scheme of selling fake paintings in front of everyone. At this time, the police arrived at the scene to arrest Jung-hye for fraud. At the crucial moment, the assistant told Jung-hye a plan to escape the crime. Jung-hye called Yeju out and asked Yeju to take the blame for her. Jung-hye said that she would definitely hire a lawyer to rescue Yeju. When Yeju was at a loss for what to do, Jung-hae's assistant told everyone that Yeju was the real culprit who forged the painting, and the evidence was in Yeju's car. The other fake paintings were in Yeju's studio. Only then did Yeju realize that what the assistant asked her to get was not the documents, but the evidence of forging the painting. They had their own plan from the beginning. Once the incident was exposed, they would hold Yeju responsible. The police were about to arrest Yeju when she rushed out to find Sehyuk. As a result, she saw Sehyuk confessing to her younger sister, Yura. Yura acted pitiful and criticized Yeju for forging the painting and harming the whole family. Yura even tried to shed tears, which made Sehyuk very heartbroken. He grabbed Yura's hand and confessed his love to her and vowed to divorce Yeju and marry her. Yura finally revealed her evil face. Yura said that Yeju and Sehyuk did not know their place. Yura completely despised Sehyuk. The conversation between the two was overheard by Yeju. Yura hurriedly ran away. Yeju questioned Sehyuk why he treated her like that. Yeju took out Sehyuk's resignation letter and asked him why he hid it from her. Sehyuk told her to open the envelope. Yeju saw that the thing inside the envelope was a divorce agreement. At this time, the police had arrived, but Yeju did not want to suffer injustice, so she turned around and ran away. But a series of attacks made her lose her mind. To vent her anger, she drove very fast on the road. Jung-hae called Yeju and asked her to confess. Jung-hae shamelessly said that it was time for Yeju to repay her. Jung-hae adopted Yeju when she had nowhere else to go. Jung-hae also said that they were family. Yeju cried bitterly. In her confusion, Yeju did not see the car in front of her. As a result, an accident occurred. Yeju was quickly taken to the emergency room. The doctor told Jung-hae that Yeju had multiple fractures. Her organs were bleeding so much that surgery was impossible. Everything could only be arranged by fate. Unexpectedly, Jung-hae did not feel any pain after hearing this. When the doctor left, Jung-hae went into the hospital room and unplugged Yeju's ventilator. Jung-hae then told the awakened Yeju that I had hated you since the first time I saw you at the orphanage. At that time, Yeju was only a few years old, but she tried to please Jung-hae, so Jung-hae adopted Yeju. Jung-hae wanted to see when Yeju would reveal his true ambition. Unexpectedly, many years had passed and Yeju was still patiently living like a fool. The evil Jung-hae said that they were destined to be together. Jung-hae advised Yeju not to be so kind in her next life or she would only find trouble. To cover up crime, Jung-hae told the assistant to reconnect Yeju's ventilator. The doctor urgently gave emergency treatment, but in the end, the doctor shook his head regretfully. At this time, Yeju still had some consciousness and begged God that if she could live again, she would definitely take revenge on those who had hurt her at all costs. Immediately after, the alarm clock woke Yeju up. Yeju looked around and saw that she was lying on the bed at home. Before leaving, Yura told Yeju that I didn't have time to go choose a wedding dress with you today. Yeju picked up her phone in disbelief and found that she had come back to life. Yeju had returned to the day she went to try on a wedding dress a year ago. It was not until Yeju tried on the wedding dress that she still couldn't believe it. But what the salesperson told her was exactly the same as a year ago. Moreover, a year ago, she accidentally scratched her hand. Yeju looked at the blood on her hands and finally confirmed that she had returned to the past. Seeing Sehyuk waiting outside, Yeju decided to draw a clear line with him immediately. She walked over, took the pen in Sehyuk's pocket, cut the wedding dress, and pressed the bouquet of flowers in her hand on Sehyuk's head. Yeju told Sehyuk that she was going to tell her family and Yura, whom he loved, that their marriage marriage was over, Yeju quickly returned home and told Jonghae that she wanted to cancel the engagement. Sehyuk chased all the way outside to talk to Yeju. Yeju exposed Sehyuk's love for Yura, but he knew in his heart that Yura looked down on someone as poor and lowly as him, so he chose to marry Yeju. After all, Yeju and Yura were both rich ladies and could help him. At the same time, he could continue to be with Yura. Seeing Yeju wanted to cancel the engagement, Sehyuk immediately knelt down. His father had invested all the family's money in stocks. His mother was tricked into a huge debt, so he really needed to marry Yeju to change his situation. Sehyuk promised that after the marriage, he would obediently listen to Yeju. But after being resurrected, Yeju was no longer fooled by these sweet words. She resolutely turned around and left. When Yeju returned home, she heard the conversation between Jonghae and Yura. Yura already had someone she liked, Do-guk, the second son of the Taeja group. From childhood to adulthood, there had never been anything that Yura could not have. This time, Yura was full of confidence and was sure that she would seduce Do-guk. Yeju turned around and left. She had away. Yeju went to find her best friend Sujin, a journalist. At the same time, Sujin was also Do-guk's cousin. Yeju told Sujin about her story. Now she wants to get the man that Yura has always wanted. Sujin explains to Yeju that it is a bit difficult to seduce Do-guk. First of all, the family backgrounds of the two are very different. Yeju's family runs a finance company, which is actually a loan shark company. Normally, the two families would have nothing to do with each other. It is all thanks to Jonghae, who arranged the conditions for Yura. Jonghae bribed a madam with a painting that created a scene where Yura accidentally met Do-guk and his mother. She took this opportunity to introduce Yura to him. In addition, Do-guk's mother, grandmother, and younger sister are not easy to approach. Yeju have to be smart when dealing with her husband's family. Finally, Do-guk himself. He has very high standards, so he may not like Yeju. Yeju does not give up. She heard that Yura and Do-guk have a date tomorrow afternoon. She needs Sujin to help her find out the meeting place. She would go there first to have a few words with Do-guk. The next day, Yeju arrived at the appointed place first. Do-guk accidentally said Yeju's name. He explained that he had investigated Yura's family background. Yeju went straight to the point and asked Do-guk what he thought about marrying her. Do-guk was interested in hearing what advantages Yeju had. If he wanted to get married, he wanted to marry someone better. While speaking, Do-guk took out his room card. He said that being more attractive was also an advantage. This made Yeju feel humiliated. At this moment, Yura came in front of the two of them. In order to ruin the meeting between the two, Yeju took the room card and went upstairs with Do-guk. When she arrived at the door of the room, Yeju was a little nervous. She couldn't show such tension because if she wasn't careful, she would fall into Do-guk's trap. Entering the room, Yeju immediately felt relieved. It turned out that this was Do-guk's workplace, just the right place to chat. Do-guk taught her that if she showed nervousness and anxiety when dealing with others, she would become someone who was taken advantage of. Before they could even get to the main topic, Yura kept calling. Seeing Yura's anxiety, Yeju decided to spend the night here today. Do-guk deliberately teased Yeju. He said that if they decided to spend the night, a man and a woman sharing a room, something must have happened. After all, a harmonious married life is also an important part of marriage. Do-guk gradually approached Yeju. Yeju was not afraid at all. She said that Do-guk was not her type, but she was happy to be seduced by Do-guk. Do-guk was very satisfied with Yeju's reaction. He was willing to listen to what she had to say. Yeju continued that Do-guk's grandmother wanted him to get married. Once married, he could receive his grandmother's investment. The company could also be listed successfully. Yeju is willing to give him information about competing companies and help him. Yeju explains why she chose Do-guk. She feels that Do-guk is her soulmate who can see her worth right away. Moreover, he is also quite handsome. At the same time, Yeju also made a rule that during the marriage, she will not cause trouble for Do-guk. The two will also not have physical contact with each other and be clear about assets. After this period of time, the two will divorce. Hearing that, Do-guk was a bit curious about Yeju. This woman made him feel interesting. The two also established a cooperative relationship. Yeju excitedly drank a few more glasses. She stroked her hair wanting to tie it up. Do-guk took the hair tie on the table to tie her hair. Yeju suddenly remembered that she had died once. At that time, the past appeared before her eyes a lot, but there was no memory that made her feel nostalgic. This meant that when she was alive, there was no moment when she felt happy. This time, she wanted to change. After talking for a while, Yeju fell asleep. Do-guk supported her. Yeju fell into his arms. He couldn't control himself and stroked Yeju's hair and cheeks. Then he carried her to bed to rest. The next day, Yeju woke up and saw Do-guk sleeping next to her, which made her very scared. She secretly left. As soon as Yeju got home, Jonghae slapped her and scolded her for being shameless. She dared to steal her younger sister's man. Her father also spoke up for Yura and advised Yeju to marry Sehyuk with peace of mind and stop seducing Do-guk. Yeju was extremely angry. She didn't want to marry a man who didn't like her. When When Yeju was about to reveal the truth that Sehyuk liked Yura, Yura spoke up first, crying and saying that Yeju had framed her. Yura had heard the conversation between Yeju and Sehyuk in the bridal shop. Yura blamed Yeju for not talking nonsense when Yeju was angry and damaging her reputation. Yeju sarcastically said that Yura was really good at acting. Yeju said that she had slept with Do-guk. As soon as Yeju finished speaking, Yura cried bitterly. Jong-hae was heartbroken and ordered Yeju to be locked in a room. Yeju looked at the dense symbols on the wall and shed tears. Every time she made a mistake, Jong-hae would lock her in the room. She suddenly felt that this room was her prison and she couldn't escape. Now that Yeju was alive again, she didn't want to sit still and wait to die anymore. She remembered yesterday when she asked Soo-jin to secretly take a photo of her and Do-guk being intimate and post it online, using public opinion to make Do-guk admit her identity. Unexpectedly, Soo-jin said that Do-guk's family was very powerful, so they had already blocked the news. Yeju was disappointed. While she was thinking of new plans, Jung-hae's assistant was ordered to bring medicine. The assistant accidentally discovered the drawer behind Yeju. Yeju panicked and quickly drank the medicine and chased the assistant away. When the assistant left, Yeju opened the drawer and vomited the medicine and put it in the medicine bottle. Then, while tying her hair, Yeju suddenly remembered that Do-guk tied her hair for her yesterday and touched her lips. Do-guk was also recalling the scene last night when he was moved by Yeju. He was angry because Yeju had disappeared last night and her phone was turned off. Do-guk wanted to quickly go home and announce his intention to marry Yeju. This shocked everyone. His grandmother thought that Do-guk's company had money problems, so she married the daughter of a loan shark. While everyone was trying to dissuade Do-guk, he received a call from Yeju. Yeju bribed an elementary school student to tell that student to bring the phone upstairs for her. That's how she was able to contact Do-guk. Yeju asked Do-guk to save her. She decided to give Do-guk more information about the rival company. Unexpectedly, Do-guk told Yeju to call him Prince and he would save her. In order to escape, Yeju had no choice but to do so. As soon as Yeju hung up the phone, Jong-hae rushed in. Seeing Yeju talking on the phone with Do-guk, Jong-hae sarcastically said that Do-guk clearly had no feelings for her, but Yeju thought that Do-guk would marry her. Jong-hae said that Yeju was just a child, that her biological mother didn't even need her. Jong-hae advised her to settle down and marry Se-hyuk. Yeju's eyes turned red. Do-guk came over and saw this scene, so he pulled her away. Do-guk made his feelings clear to Yeju's family. He came here to ask for Yeju's hand in marriage. The two wanted to get married as soon as possible. Jong-hae and Yura were extremely angry, but the father was very excited. He wanted to have a son-in-law who was the young master of the Taeja group, so he agreed immediately. Yura angrily left. Do-guk stood up and took Yeju out to eat. Before leaving, Yeju looked at Jong-hae with an emotionless face. Jong-hae couldn't help but return the phone to Yeju. Do-guk could see that Yeju was not treated well in this house. He told Jong-hae to rest assured that he would protect Yeju. Yeju thought that Do-guk came here to save her because he wanted to get information. Unexpectedly, Do-guk took her to a high-class restaurant for dinner. Yeju was not used to the food in high-class restaurants, so Do-guk bought instant food from a convenience store to eat with her. Yeju thought about her family and suddenly wanted to cry. She told Do-guk that someone put drugs in her food. She always lived in fear and had to be on guard against her family. Yeju cried bitterly and said that she wanted revenge. Revenge on those who turned her into this. Do-guk comforted Yeju that if this was her real purpose after marrying him, he was willing to help. He would marry her. After saying that, Do-guk picked a yellow flower from the side of the road to make a ring to propose to Yeju. Do-guk stood up and asked Yeju to give him a hug. Unexpectedly, she stood up and gave him a kiss. Do-guk pulled Yeju over and kissed her passionately. Yeju did not refuse and responded. Yeju blushed when she saw Do-guk's engagement ring. Soo-jin suddenly called and said that the scene of her and Do-guk kissing yesterday was on the news. Yeju quickly went online to see. Looking at the perfectly taken photo, she remembered that Do-guk told her to dress beautifully yesterday. Yeju immediately understood that Do-guk had arranged for someone to secretly take a photo of their date. Their relationship was exposed. Yura was extremely angry when she saw the news. She asked her mother to help her. Jong-hae deliberately mentioned this in front of her husband. In fact, Do-guk's family did not agree to this marriage. It was all because Yeju and Do-guk were making things up. Yeju's father wanted to have a son-in-law who was the young master of the Taeja group, so he quickly confirmed this to Yeju, but she denied it. At the same time, she said that she and Do-guk would hold a luxurious wedding and invite both families to attend. Yeju also said that the wedding still had to ask Yura to receive the wedding bouquet. Yura angrily went out. Jong-hae was heartbroken and deliberately made things difficult for Yeju. Jong-hae said that if Yeju wanted to get married, Do-guk's parents had to come and talk about the wedding. Yeju calmly nodded in affirmation and then went to Do-guk's house. Seeing Do-guk busy in the kitchen, she was very surprised. She asked asked him if he knew how to cook. Do-guk replied that he had known for a long time. Do-guk was rich, handsome, and intelligent. He had everything when he was born. After being busy for a while, Do-guk made a delicious meal for Yeju. But Yeju was not in the mood to enjoy it. She wanted to know why he went to this extent. Do-guk said that it was because he liked cooking. Seeing that Do-guk did not understand her meaning, Yeju was very angry. She asked him why he spread the news of their relationship. Do-guk smiled. He did so because he was afraid that Yeju would suddenly regret it. After saying that, he took out the marriage contract and asked her to sign it. Yeju knew that a year later was the day she would die, so she only signed a one-year cooperation contract. At the same time, she asked Do-guk's family to come to the wedding to congratulate the two. Although Do-guk was not very satisfied with the one-year marriage, he still signed it in the end. Now the two officially became partners. Do-guk suggested that they need a secret base to discuss strategies. The location was his private home. Do-guk asked Yeju to move to his private home and he would go back to his house. After saying that, he immediately pulled Yeju to visit the house. Yeju saw the warm bedroom that Do-guk had prepared for her and the beautiful clothes in the wardrobe, which made her very happy. At this time, Yura went to find Se-hyuk's younger sister, Se-hee. Yura advised Se-hee and Se-hyuk's mother to persuade Yeju to bribe Se-hee. Yura bought Se-hee a designer bag. While chatting, the two met Do-guk's younger sister, Dona. Yura took the opportunity to badmouth Yeju, saying that Yeju was a bad person. Not long ago, Yeju wanted to marry Se-hyuk, but now she seduced Do-guk. The main reason was that Yeju had mental problems. Yura said that since Yeju was a child, Yeju didn't give up tricks just to defeat her. This time, Yeju also intentionally stole Do-guk, whom she liked. Dona understood everything and silently watched Yura badmouth Yeju. Dona mocked Yura for talking nonsense. She would determine for herself what kind of person Yeju was. After saying that, Dona turned around and left. Yeju didn't know anything. She was about to go out when she was stopped by Se-hyuk's mother. Se-hyuk's mother begged Yeju to change her mind and not to cancel the engagement. Yeju knew that Se-hyuk's mother was only after her family's fortune, so she turned around and left. Unexpectedly, Se-hyuk's mother pulled Yeju's hair and lectured her. Yeju pushed Se-hyuk's mother down. Unexpectedly, Se-hyuk's mother knelt down and begged. Yeju suddenly realized that something was wrong. It was as she thought. Se-hee appeared to help her mother scold Yeju shamelessly. Se-hee said that a month before the wedding, Yeju broke up with her fiancé and seduced a rich young master. Se-hee's hypocritical performance caused passers-by who didn't know the truth to criticize Yeju. These evil words made Yeju very scared. Yeju turned around and ran away without knowing that this scene had been secretly filmed. It turned out that everything was caused by Jung-hae. Jung-hae was very satisfied with Se-hyuk's mother's acting ability. Jung-hae took a stack of money and gave it to Se-hyuk's mother, making her very happy. Yeju ran home, calmed down, and thought that she would die in a year, and she was waiting for that day to come. She wondered if she would die again or get a new life. But now she was very sure that she would not make the same mistakes again. In order to marry Do-guk as soon as possible, Yeju went to ask Sujin for advice. Sujin suggested that Yeju should gain the trust of the most powerful woman in Do-guk's family, his mother. After saying that, Sujin gave Yeju a cooking class membership card. It was said that this cooking school was a gathering place for rich ladies. Do-guk's mother often came here to learn cooking. There must be many rich ladies talking about the story of other people's families here. Maybe Yeju was very famous in the conversation of rich ladies. Yeju thought that if she suddenly appeared in the cooking class, she might surprise Do-guk's mother. As Sujin had guessed, in the cooking class, a lady made fun of Do-guk's mother. That lady said it was a shame for Do-guk to find a woman whose family background was not suitable for him. Do-guk's mother angrily rushed over to beat that lady. At this moment, Yeju suddenly appeared and announced that she was the woman who was about to marry Do-guk. She also introduced her name to Do-guk's mother. When the ladies finished studying, Do-guk's mother called Yeju over and invited her to have tea with her. Unexpectedly, Do-guk's mother also took the opportunity to invite Yura. Yura went to the bathroom and reminded Yeju to control her expression well. At least in front of Do-guk's mother, she had to pretend that the two sisters were very close. Yeju, who had been reborn once, did not care about Yura. In front of Do-guk's mother, Yeju said that the relationship between the two sisters was very bad, which made Yura embarrassed. Do-guk's mother did not care about the relationship between the two and went straight to the point, asking Yeju to withdraw to give Yura a chance. Do-guk's mother said that the adopted daughter of a family of drivers was completely unworthy of Do-guk. Moreover, a month ago, she was still engaged. Yeju did not give in. She thought that Do-guk's mother could understand her. After all, Do-guk's mother was like her, getting married despite parents' objections. Do-guk's mother was annoyed because every time she said, Yeju would argue back. Suddenly, Do-guk appeared to protect Yeju. His appearance left his mother speechless. Do-guk wanted to take Yeju away, but she refused. She told Do-guk's mother that she broke off the engagement because she was betrayed. She had already made up her mind not to pursue love anymore, but when Do-guk appeared, she felt loved again. She knew that Do-guk would not betray the woman he loved. Even if Do-guk had an affair, he still had a straightforward mother to solve the problem for her. Lee-ju praised Do-guk's mother and him. This had a great effect on Do-guk's mother. Do-guk's mother watched Lee-ju leave and suddenly felt fond of this straightforward girl and refused the gift Yura gave her. Do-guk took Lee-ju home and the two discussed how to convince their families. Do-guk suddenly suggested that Lee-ju loved him. The two of them got together because of love, so their families would agree to the marriage. After all, Lee-ju did not have a strong family background. Do-guk's family could not be convinced by the reason of a commercial marriage. Do-guk kept persuading Lee-ju, tricking her into agreeing to play the role of his true love. First, the two practiced how to confess. Do-guk sat right in front of Lee-ju and looked at her affectionately. Then he said the words of confession. Lee-ju's heart beat fast. She quickly pretended to be comfortable and praised Do-guk that it was a pity that he was not a professional actor. She did not know that Do-guk had not acted just now, but was expressing his true feelings. Today, Do-guk was drunk and slept on the sofa, while Lee-ju had trouble sleeping on the bed. Finally, she went to the living room and asked Do-guk to go to the bedroom. She accidentally discovered that Do-guk was drenched in sweat and had a nightmare, so she thoughtfully patted his shoulder to comfort him. Do-guk's mother came to her son's house and saw Lee-ju next to her son. Lee-ju quickly explained that they did nothing. Unexpectedly, Do-guk's mother was not angry at all. She even said that she was from abroad. Do-guk's mother called Lee-ju out. She agreed to the marriage of the two and wanted to meet Lee-ju's family, but she had two requests: that Lee-ju must keep it a secret from Do-guk. Lee-ju went home to tell her parents the good news. The father was very happy and cancelled the weekend gathering. Jong-hae and Yura were extremely angry. Jong-hae mocked Lee-ju that don't think that you've won. It was still unknown what Do-guk's parents' intentions were. Looking at Jong-hae's angry eyes, Lee-ju felt extremely refreshed. Lee-ju told Jong-hae to keep her expression good so as not to embarrass the family. Lee-ju's parents went to the meeting place that Do-guk's parents had arranged in advance over the weekend. After driving for several hours, they arrived at a remote location. Jong-hae said that if Do-guk's family wanted to marry Lee-ju, why did they arrange such a remote meeting place? Lee-ju's father was about to blame his wife for being impolite when Do-guk's mother interrupted. Do-guk's mother said that based on the current situation, she felt that Jong-hae was worthy of being the leader of the Hanan group. During the meeting, Jong-hae deliberately caused trouble and sabotaged it. At first, Jong-hae was not satisfied with Do-guk's family arranging the meeting at such a simple place. This made Lee-ju embarrassed and emphasized that she was the adopted daughter of the family. Jong-hae looked down on Lee-ju for not being capable. Jong-hae also said that Lee-ju went to art school, but at this age, she still had not achieved anything. She had never sold her paintings and was not good at housework. Lee-ju was a little embarrassed. She nervously rubbed her hands together. Do-guk put his hand on hers, actively showing that in his heart, Lee-ju was already excellent enough. Otherwise, he would not have decided to marry Lee-ju. Seeing Do-guk's determined attitude, Jong-hae made things difficult for Lee-ju. Jong-hae asked Lee-ju if she felt qualified to be the wife of the young master of a rich corporation. Lee-ju replied with a smile. She really had many shortcomings. She said that in a situation like today, she had prepared a gift. Lee-ju took out the painting she copied. She mentioned that Jong-hae was doing charity work, copying famous paintings around the world and hanging them in welfare centers for people who did not have time to go to the exhibition to see. Lee-ju gave the paintings to Do-guk's grandmother. The grandmother liked them very much and immediately had someone hang them on the wall. This action really scared Jong-hae. Jong-hae's face was unnatural. Then Jong-hae pulled Lee-ju aside to talk privately. This painting had been sold by Jong-hae to a lady. Jong-hae didn't understand why it was now in Lee-ju's hands. It was simple. Lee-ju told the lady that there was a problem with the circulation of the painting and asked to refund her money. So the lady returned the painting to Lee-ju immediately. The thing returned along with the painting was a painting certificate with Jong-hae's signature on it, guaranteeing that the painting was genuine. This was evidence that Jong-hae had used fake painting to defraud. Lee-ju used this to warn Jong-hae not to make a fuss. It was best that Jong-hae not cause trouble with her anymore. Jong-hae was extremely angry. After the meeting, Jong-hae slapped her assistant. She criticized the assistant for not managing the gallery well, giving Lee-ju the opportunity to act. Jong-hae ordered the staff to take back the sold paintings and refund the buyers, then canceled all transaction information so that no one else could know, and she sold fake paintings. After finishing work, Jong-hae came home just in time to see Yura going out. From her mother's expression, Yura could see that her mother could not ruin Lee-ju and Do-guk's marriage. Yura sadly went to drink. Se-hyuk was in front of Yura's house and hurriedly followed her. Yura told Se-hyuk that Lee-ju was about to marry Do-guk. Yura wanted to stop it and needed Se-hyuk's help. Because of Lee-ju's matter, Sehyuk hated Do-guk very much. He worked in Do-guk's company. While working, he was angry with Do-guk. The two talked from work to Yeju. Sehyuk was not happy that Do-guk seduced his fiancée. Do-guk rearranged the time to make Sehyuk understand that it was clearly after Yeju and Sehyuk broke up that Yeju was with him. Hearing that, Sehyuk denied that the two had broken up. They were just in a cold phase. He firmly believed that Yeju still loved him. Do-guk is just a tool Yeju uses to make him angry. Even if Yeju dated Do-guk, he would forgive her. Do-guk's reaction was beyond Sehyuk's expectations. Do-guk loved Yeju, so he accepted being used by her. He even felt disgusted when her beautiful name was uttered by someone else. Today, Yeju made an appointment to meet Sujin. Sujin asked why Do-guk's mother wanted to meet Yeju's family after meeting Yeju for the first time. Yeju recalled the agreement between her and Do-guk's mother. Do-guk's mother could agree to let the two of them get married, but there was one requirement. Yeju had to make Do-guk return to the Taja group within 6 months. If Yeju couldn't do it, she had to leave Do-guk, so she agreed immediately. Yeju learned about the Taja group from Sujin. Sujin said that Do-guk was originally the successor appointed by his grandmother. Because of his brother, Do-guk went out and opened his own company. Yeju continued to ask, but Sujin realized that she had revealed too much, so she stopped talking. What made Yeju curious was that when she packed her luggage and moved to Do-guk's house, as soon as she went out, Sehyuk came and forced Yeju to come to Do-guk's house. Sehyuk continued to beg Yeju to come back. He even revealed that Do-guk had wanted to kill someone. Do-guk had pushed his brother off the boat, causing his brother to become disabled. To compensate his brother, and because he was afraid that his bad deeds would be discovered, Do-guk took the initiative to leave the Tiaja group and give his position as successor to his brother. Seeing Yeju standing there in fear, Sehyuk walked over and grabbed Yeju's hand. He hugged her and begged her to come back to him. Yeju calmed down and pushed Sehyuk away, then turned and went into the house. Yura came out from nearby and took a photo of the two hugging. This was enough to shake the relationship between Yeju and Do-guk. Indeed, Yeju panicked and called Sujin to ask for clarification. Sujin admitted that after the incident, Do-guk's brother confirmed that Do-guk pushed him down. The witness also said the same. Since then, the family has not mentioned this matter anymore and just want to let time make everything sink into oblivion. In another place, Yeju's grandfather learned that his granddaughter was about to marry Do-guk, so he went to see Do-guk's grandmother. 30 years ago, the two had a love affair. This time, Yeju's grandfather returned the 1.6 billion interest he had earned from Do-guk's grandmother. He asked her to help his granddaughter marry her grandson. He always felt guilty towards Yeju. This time, he wanted to use all his ability to help Yeju fulfill her wish. After saying that, he knelt down and hugged Do-guk's grandmother's legs to beg. Unexpectedly, he pulled down her pants. Do-guk's grandmother was helpless when she saw Yeju's grandfather making such a mess. She wanted to see what kind of person Yeju was. Yeju visited her grandfather and saw that he looked sad. Grandpa felt that he couldn't help Yeju. The debt he owed his granddaughter, he probably would never be able to repay in his entire life. Yeju didn't understand the meaning of his grandfather's words. While Yeju was thinking, she accidentally saw Jonghae's assistant eavesdropping outside. She immediately chased after him and asked him why he was following her. The assistant was a fickle person, and he was observing Yeju. If he felt that Yeju could win against Jonghae, he might consider siding with Yeju. Once Jonghae's assistant helped, Yeju's revenge plan would be easier to carry out. She was determined to make Jonghae's assistant waver. After visiting her grandfather, Yeju went to the cooking class. She made cakes and chatted happily with the head chef. Do-guk's mother was not very happy to be treated coldly. Do-guk's mother thought that it was obvious that Yeju should come to make her happy. Seeing that, Do-guk's mother had no choice but to take the initiative to talk. Seeing Yeju's burnt cake, Do-guk's mother told Yeju to cut off the burnt part and repackage it as a gift for her son. Yeju had just wrapped the cake when she met Do-guk, who was hungry and came here to eat. He saw the cake on the table and thought it was her work of art. Hearing her say it was a cake, Do-guk immediately picked up the fork, but the cake was so dry and hard that it was difficult for Do-guk to put it in his mouth and almost broke his teeth. Yeju sighed and intended to cook him a bowl of instant noodles, but she couldn't reach the instant noodles on the cabinet. Do-guk suddenly came over to help her get the noodles. Yeju's heart started beating fast again. Do-guk cooked the noodles himself. Only when the instant noodles were placed on the table did Yeju calm down. She thought about what Do-guk had done to his brother and acted cold. She even deliberately drew a clear line with him. After all, the two of them were only in a contract marriage. Do-guk suddenly sat up straight and seriously told Yeju that if he really wanted to marry her, what would he do? But in the end, he was immediately rejected by Yeju. A year later, she had a traffic accident and no longer had time for love. Yeju sighed and sent Do-guk away. As soon as she got home, she received a call from Do-guk's brother asking to meet her. Yeju nodded in agreement. Do-guk was rejected by Yeju and got drunk at a bar. Yura suddenly appeared and took out the hotel room card and placed it in front of him. She said that she probably understood Do-guk better than Yi-ju. In order to trap Do-guk, Yura took out the photos of Se-hyuk and Yi-ju hugging each other. She deliberately told Do-guk that the woman he loved often sneaked to his house with Se-hyuk. Do-guk knew at first glance that this was Yura's scheme. He guessed that Yura was doing this just because she didn't want to lose to Yi-ju. Do-guk asked Yura to stop as soon as possible. He had no interest in playing this disgusting game with her. Yura watched Do-guk leave. She was very angry. When she got home, Yura confided in Jong-hye and criticized her mother for only saying that you would help me get Do-guk, but you still hadn't done anything. Jong-hye angrily cursed Do-guk and Yi-ju repeatedly. Then, Jong-hye called the assistant to ask him if he had found out who had a grudge against Do-guk. The assistant nodded. Jong-hye smiled sinisterly. It was soon time for Do-guk's brother to meet Yi-ju. Do-guk's brother Jong-wook called Do-guk. Jong-wook said that today he would tell Yi-ju about Do-guk's true nature. After hearing this, Do-guk hurriedly went to stop Yi-ju from meeting his brother. He went to the beach to find Yi-ju. This was where Jong-wook became disabled years ago. Facing the sparkling sea, Do-guk's heart was haunted and he couldn't move on. The scene where Jong-woo fell into the water and asked for help was still in his mind. Do-guk was so upset that he couldn't breathe and knelt on the ground. At this time, Yi-ju searched everywhere for Jong-wook but couldn't find him. Suddenly, Yi-ju saw Do-guk rushing to help him. Do-guk felt relieved when he saw Yi-ju coming and he fainted into Yi-ju's arms. This scene was seen by Jong-wook from above. Yi-ju took Do-guk to the hospital. After registering, she returned to the hospital bed but found that Do-guk had disappeared. She was worried and went to look for him, almost getting hit by a wheelchair. Luckily, Do-guk appeared and pulled Yi-ju into his arms, making her heart beat faster. Do-guk recovered and then she and he went home. But before she could be moved, a strange woman appeared. She said that she was Do-guk's friend. After saying that, she rushed into the house to visit Do-guk. Yi-ju was cooking porridge and kept looking inside the house. Not long after, the woman walked out of the room. She introduced herself to Yi-ju as Do-guk's psychiatrist. Do-guk suffered from severe panic disorder. Seeing Yi-ju's confused expression, the doctor joked that he was trying to trick her into getting married. Do-guk immediately chased the doctor out. Then he told Yi-ju that he could control his illness. As long as he didn't care about his brother's words in the future, it would be fine. The top priority now was their wedding. Yi-ju saw that he wanted to say something but stopped, so she kept quiet. She left with a complicated feeling. As soon as Yi-ju left the house, Do-guk's grandmother called to make an appointment with her. Do-guk's grandmother wanted to see what kind of person Yi-ju was. Do-guk's grandmother told Yi-ju that Yi-ju's father had come to see her. He asked her to help him say a few words to the head of the Financial Supervision Commission. Asked the head to agree to let him buy the savings bank. Do-guk's grandmother asked Yi-ju for her opinion. Of course, Yi-ju told Do-guk's grandmother to do things clearly. Yi-ju knew that Do-guk's grandmother had a hard time founding the Taeja group, especially in an era when only women were allowed to do housework. Yi-ju didn't want Do-guk's grandmother's hard-earned fortune to be affected by this. Seeing Yi-ju thinking of others, Do-guk's grandmother looked pleased. When they got home, Do-guk's grandmother took the initiative to tell the two to get married. Do-guk's mother wanted Do-guk to return to the group as soon as possible, so she agreed with Do-guk's grandmother. Only Jong-wook mocked Do-guk for being too hasty. Others might think something had happened if they heard it. Jong-wook deliberately hinted that Yi-ju was pregnant before marriage, which made Do-guk extremely upset. He angrily said that his brother was too impolite. After chasing Jong-wook away, Do-guk's family discussed the details of the wedding. Very quickly, the two of them took the wedding invitation to Yi-ju's house to invite her family to attend the wedding. The father was very happy, but Yu-ra, who was nearby, burst out laughing crazily. The father lost all face and told his wife to quickly take Yu-ra on a blind date. Yu-ra stood up and returned the invitation card to Yi-ju and left the table. The father was very angry with Yu-ra for making him lose face in front of outsiders. He scolded his wife for not only not being able to manage the company, but also not being able to raise her daughter well. Jong-hae suppressed her anger and said that she was just a senior manager in the company and had no power. After saying that, she took the opportunity to demand that if the acquisition of the savings bank was successful this time, she would ask her husband to make her the representative director. Then she would appoint Yu-ra as the representative of the exhibition room. Jong-hae's husband said that if that was the case, then give that position to Yi-ju. Jong-hae was extremely angry, knowing that her husband was deliberately showing off his power to her, so Jong-hae had no choice but to agree to take Yu-ra on a blind date. Only then did Yi-ju's father smile. Before going to bed, he took his medicine as usual. Jong-hae said that she would probably have to change his medicine with a sinister look on her face. The next day, Do-guk took Yi-ju to try on wedding dresses. Unexpectedly, the store employee thought that Yi-ju's fiancé was still Se-hyuk, so he sent a message inviting Se-hyuk to the store. When Se-hyuk was about to leave, he accidentally saw Yi-ju trying on a wedding dress. dress. Yeju wore a beautiful wedding dress and was praised by the designer. Noticing that Yeju's expression didn't look good, the designer quickly stepped up to provide guidance. Sehyeok suddenly rushed in and mocked Yeju, saying that she didn't look happy at all. When she was preparing for the wedding with him, she was very emotional. Now she looked depressed, as if she had been sold to someone else. Sehyeok said mocking words to bless her. Similar to Sehyeok, Jungwook was also not very optimistic about Do-guk and Yeju's marriage. Jung-hae knew what Jungwook was thinking and offered to cooperate with him. She took out a photo of Do-guk's grandmother and Yeju's grandfather meeting. It was the scene where Yeju's grandfather took out 1.6 billion in cash. Then Jung-hae gave Jungwook a transaction statement showing that Yeju's grandfather spent a lot of money to buy a famous painting to give to Do-guk's grandmother. Jung-hae reminded Jungwook that Yeju's grandfather, who was greedy for fame and fortune, had his eyes on the Taeja group. If Jungwook wanted to protect the group, Jungwook had to cooperate with her. Without waiting for him to reply, Jung-hae stood up and left to take Yura on a blind date. Yura wore leather clothes and deliberately made herself look like a spoiled playboy. Yura spoke rudely to the other party's mother. Yura also deliberately said that 2 days ago, her son went to a hotel with 2 other people. The man was angry when he heard that. He was about to step up to teach Yura a lesson, but was stopped by Jungwook. Jungwook took a stick and taught the other man a lesson. Yura looked at Jungwook's calm appearance and paid more attention to him. Actually, this time Jungwook came to see Yeju. As soon as the two met, Jungwook asked why Yeju wanted to marry Do-guk. Her grandfather did not hesitate to spend a lot of money bribing his grandmother. What did her grandfather want in the end? Yeju did not understand what was going on and was about to ask clearly when Duck came over and interrupted. Do-guk asked Jungwook to stay away from Yeju, or else don't blame him for being cruel. Jungwook asked Do-guk if he was going to push him down like before. Do-guk angrily pushed Jungwook down. He yelled at Jungwook like crazy. This scene was seen by Yura, who was still upstairs. To get revenge on Yeju, Yura asked Jung-hae to arrange a blind date with Jungwook. Do-guk and Yeju are still arguing about today's incident. Do-guk blamed Yeju for clearly agreeing with him, but still secretly going to see Jungwook. Yeju was sad. She just wanted to help Do-guk completely get rid of his panic disorder. Seeing Yeju worried about him made Do-guk touched. He pulled Yeju and asked her if she was ready to face the consequences. If he told her everything, the two of them would no longer be partners, but a real couple, because she had crossed the line. Yeju hesitated and took a step back in silence. Do-guk let go of her hand. He knew she had chosen to give up. Yeju sadly watched Do-guk turn around and leave. She was about to leave when Do-guk's grandmother called. Do-guk's grandmother took Yeju to see a fortune teller. The fortune teller had entertained many businessmen, so she knew all the secrets of the families. This time, Do-guk's grandmother wanted to ask the fortune teller why Yeju's grandfather cared so much about this adopted granddaughter. Years ago, when Yeju's father got married, her grandfather forced Yeju's father to adopt her before he agreed to let her father get married. Now, her grandfather is wasting all his efforts on this granddaughter. The fortune teller thought for a moment and told the story that happened 25 years ago. Years ago, a woman who was 10 months pregnant was forced to death by her grandfather, who was a loan shark. Feeling guilty, Yeju's grandfather attended the funeral to return the interest to the woman's husband. The angry husband beat Yeju's grandfather and accused her grandfather of forcing his wife and unborn child to death. After leaving the funeral, Yeju's grandfather went to the fortune teller to ask what he should do to reduce the resentment of the woman and her unborn child. The fortune teller told Yeju's grandfather to adopt a girl who had no home and raise her until she grew up. Then happiness would return. After telling the story, the fortune teller told Yeju that in her opinion, Yeju was neither dead nor alive. After saying goodbye to the fortune teller, Yeju thanked Do-guk's grandmother for bringing her here. Do-guk's grandmother told Yeju not to call her president but to just call grandma. Yeju smiled and agreed. Yeju knew that Do-guk's grandmother had accepted her. After saying goodbye to Do-guk's grandmother, Yeju visited her grandfather. She advised her grandfather not to feel indebted to her because she could not replace a dead child. Grandfather did not answer. Instead, he took out a photo of her and her biological mother. Looking at the photo, Yeju could not recognize her mother's face. Grandfather told Yeju to observe carefully that when she was young, she looked a lot like her father. Yeju was surprised. Could it be that she was her father's illegitimate child? She was still in shock when Jung-hae suddenly entered. Yeju quickly hid in the closet. Jung-hae threatened grandfather not to think about marrying Yeju to Do-guk and living off the Taeja group from then on. Now Jung-hae and Yura are betting on Jungwook. Compared to the younger brother who went out to start a business, the older brother who inherited the group clearly had a bigger chance of winning. Then Jung-hae pulled Yeju's grandfather to her side. As soon as Jung-hae finished speaking, she accidentally saw the photo and the white skirt exposed in the closet. Jung-hae was about to step forward when Yeju's grandfather stopped her. In order to chase Jung-hae away, Yeju's grandfather grandfather quickly agreed. He also promised to transfer all his shares to Yura. Jonghae smiled with satisfaction. Jonghae deliberately reminded Yeju's grandfather not to talk to Yeju about her true identity. Yeju couldn't believe it when she knew the truth. At the same time, Do-guk came to Yeju's room. He accidentally saw her sketchbook. The last page was the scene of Yeju's car accident. Yeju drew a picture of the mysterious man who hit her. Do-guk suddenly had a severe headache. The image of a car accident appeared in his mind. The wedding day of Do-guk and Yeju arrived very quickly. Jonghae went to Yeju and told her that her father was sick and couldn't come. Jonghae told Yeju not to expect her father to hold her hand in the wedding aisle. Facing stepmother's sarcasm, Yeju picked up the vase on the table. Yeju was about to attack Jonghae but was stopped by Do-guk. Do-guk saw the anger in Yeju's eyes, so he advised her to calm down. Because today was their happy day, she had to appear in front of everyone with the most beautiful and happiest appearance, so that everyone would admire her. Do-guk was willing to trade everything for Yeju's smile. Yeju wanted to destroy everything of her parents. She needed Do-guk's help. Do-guk was very happy. The moment he put the ring on Yeju, he was willing to help Yeju get revenge. After calming down, Yeju held Do-guk's hand and walked into the wedding hall. They completed the oath ceremony and exchanged rings. Next was the thank you to the parents. The couple bowed to thank Jonghae. Jonghae did not miss any opportunity to attack Yeju. Jonghae asked Yeju if she was disappointed that her father did not come. Yeju took the initiative to hug Jonghae. Yeju knew that Jonghae deliberately prevented her father from coming. The purpose was to make her regret it for the rest of her life. Yeju secretly determined that she would definitely make Jonghae live a life worse than death. Next was the photo shoot. Yura wore a white dress that looked like a wedding dress to the wedding. Yura stood right next to Yeju without saying anything and took out her cell phone to take a photo of the two sisters and post it on social media. Friends competed to comment that Yura was more beautiful than her sister. Yeju did not have time to talk much to Yura. Yeju was busy living a happy life with her lover, Do-guk. Do-guk also helped Yeju. He told Yura to find a good person soon. After the wedding, the two went to their honeymoon home, each sleeping in their own room. Early the next morning, Yeju left without saying a word. She put a note on the refrigerator telling Do-guk that she was going to Gamnung for a few days. Do-guk entered Yeju's room and found it empty. He chuckled to himself, thinking that Yeju had gone on her honeymoon alone. He turned away and noticed the notebook on the table, which had Yeju's destination written on it. Yeju went to the beach alone. Looking at the couples in front of her, she couldn't help but think of Do-guk's words that he would always be by her side, enduring everything with her. Yeju said that how could one person stay with another person forever? Unexpectedly, as soon as she finished speaking, Do-guk appeared in front of her. The two sat on the beach. Do-guk told her about his brother's collision. When they were young, their father took the two brothers on a cruise. Do-guk played around with Jong-wook. Do-guk deliberately went behind Jong-wook to scare him. Jong-wook was standing in front of the railing and was startled, causing his phone to fall into the sea. It was the only thing Jong-wook's mother left him. Jong-wook ordered Do-guk to jump into the water to retrieve the phone. Jong-wook tried to push Do-guk into the sea, but he refused. Do-guk tried to resist and accidentally pushed Jong-wook down. Jong-wook's leg was injured from then on. Jong-wook's leg hit the railing and suffered a nerve injury. After that, Jong-wook brought up the old story many times, causing Do-guk to feel guilty and no longer had the courage to stay at home. Over time, Do-guk moved out of the house to start his own company. After telling the old story, Do-guk grabbed Yeju's hand. He missed Yeju, so he ignored everything and came to her side. Do-guk grabbed Yeju's hand and hugged her. The two returned to the room. Yeju worriedly drank water. When it was time to take a shower, Yeju worriedly looked at the transparent bathroom. She pushed Do-guk down on the bed and held the blanket to cover his face, forbidding him to peek. Do-guk stood up, picked up the remote control beside him, and pressed a button. The transparent glass immediately turned into frosted glass. Do-guk began to take off his clothes and go take a bath, and placed the remote control next to Yeju. He welcomed her to see directly anytime. When Do-guk finished bathing, Yeju had already laid out a mattress for him. Do-guk gently told Yeju to take a bath. Yeju didn't move and pretended to sleep. Do-guk realized she was pretending, so he slept on the floor. Only then did Yeju open her eyes. Sharing a room with Do-guk made her heart beat faster. She was so nervous that she couldn't breathe. The next day, Yeju took Do-guk to the beach again to help him get rid of his fear of the ocean. Do-guk followed Yeju and took off his shoes to walk on the beach. Yeju spread her arms out to feel the sea breeze. The two of them had fun on the beach. Do-guk was no longer afraid of the ocean. He ran on the water. The day ended and it was time to go to bed. Do-guk wanted to sleep with her. He swore he would only hold hands to sleep. Do-guk tried to sleep in the same bed with Yi-ju, even provoking her. Yi-ju must have been worried that she couldn't control herself, so she told him to sleep on the floor. To prove that she wasn't like that, Yi-ju agreed to let Do-guk sleep on the bed. She rolled up the blanket to create a temporary dividing line. She ordered Do-guk not to cross this line. Do-guk didn't understand why Yi-ju rejected him like that. When the two were together, even though Yi-ju was smiling, her smile always contained sadness and resentment. Do-guk didn't know that in her previous life, Yi-ju was betrayed by her own family. She felt that she had never been loved. Being a pessimist, she thought that she would never have love again. Yi-ju told him that she was the biological daughter of the person she thought was her adoptive father. When the trip ended, she had to find out everything clearly. Do-guk learned about Yi-ju's background. He was by Yi-ju's side comforting her crying. Seeing Do-guk's gentleness, Yi-ju took the initiative to kiss him. Because of what happened in the past, she could not reciprocate Do-guk's feelings. Do-guk felt it was okay. Just let him love her. Whoever loves more is the weaker one. Do-guk told Yi-ju to take advantage of him as much as possible because he was willing to let her take advantage of him. Yi-ju was very touched. She reached out to caress Do-guk's cheek. The two couldn't help but kiss. They had a sweet night together. The next day, the two returned home. Yi-ju immediately went to find her grandfather to find out what happened in the past. In the past, when Yi-ju's biological mother was pregnant, she came to his house. His grandfather firmly opposed Yi-ju's mother being with his son. His grandfather gave Yi-ju's mother some money and chased her away. Later, when Yi-ju was born, her biological mother came again. Yi-ju's mother hoped that Yi-ju would become an official member of the family, but her grandfather refused. Not long after, Grandpa heard that there was a fire at Yi-ju's house. Both Yi-ju's mother and Yi-ju died in the fire. Grandpa felt guilty and uneasy, so he went to see a fortune teller. The fortune teller said that his granddaughter was with him. Grandpa immediately took Yi-ju for a DNA test. Only then did Grandpa realize that his granddaughter was still alive. As for when Jung-hye learned about Yi-ju's identity, Grandpa had no idea. Before leaving, Yi-ju asked Grandpa not to tell her father about her background. She had her own plans. In the evening, Do-guk and Yi-ju went to Yi-ju's house for dinner. At the dinner table, Yi-ju took the initiative to propose that Yi-ju manage the gallery, but Yu-ra objected because the gallery was originally owned by her. She did not allow Yi-ju to take away what belonged to her. Yi-ju presented evidence to prove her ability. It was an article written by Soo-jin about her. Previously, Yi-ju learned from a teacher who bought her paintings that her paintings seemed to have been sold to America. The teacher's friend posted a photo of the painting on social media. The painting style was very similar to Yi-ju's. Even the signature was identical. Yi-ju looked at the painting and immediately recognized it as her own. It seemed that Jung-hye had secretly sold her paintings abroad. Yi-ju took advantage of this by asking Soo-jin to post an article revealing that the most welcomed artist in America was a Korean woman. Along with that was a picture of Yi-ju. This move helped Yi-ju affirm her popularity. The paintings sold were divided among the artists at a ratio of 5-5. Yi-ju reminded Jung-hye to transfer the remuneration to her account. Seeing mother unintentionally helping Yi-ju made Yu-ra very angry. She lost her temper and decided to marry Do-guk's brother and teach Yi-ju a lesson. Yu-ra is a girl who sticks to her target. To achieve her goal, she was willing to marry Jong-wook, who had a leg disability. She also secretly seduced Se-hyuk. She drank a lot at the bar and called Se-hyuk to take her home. Se-hyuk rushed there. He witnessed Yu-ra being molested by another man. Se-hyuk rushed forward to teach the man a lesson. Yu-ra was even more aggressive. She hit the other man on the head with a wine bottle. The two held hands and ran away to hide in the back of the car to escape. Being able to hold Yu-ra's hand made Se-hyuk blush and his heart beat faster. His eyes were filled with Yu-ra's image. Looking at the pitiful Se-hyuk beside, Yu-ra kissed him. Se-hyuk took the opportunity to pull Yu-ra back to kiss her. The two slept together like that. Se-hyuk originally thought that the two would officially date, but Yu-ra had no intention of doing so. Yu-ra did not clearly confirm her attitude. She intended to manipulate Se-hyuk first. Today, Do-guk and Yi-ju came to Do-guk's house for dinner. As soon as she entered the house, Do-guk's mother enthusiastically went to hug Yi-ju and felt sorry for her for not having parents to love her. Do-guk's mother read the article Soo-jin wrote. Learning about Yi-ju's situation from Soo-jin confirmed that she was not wrong. Jong-hye had secretly sold Yi-ju's paintings anonymously. Soo-jin also said that when she was in high school, she was isolated and only the kind Yi-ju was always by her side, encouraging her to continue to persevere. Soo-jin always remembered this kindness. The whole family sat down to eat together. Unexpectedly, Jong-wook brought Yu-ra in. Jong-wook announced that the two were dating and that marriage was the premise. Jong-wook's business had recently encountered financial problems. He needed money urgently, and Yu-ra needed to marry Jong-wook. Both of them got what they needed. Do-guk's family was shocked, not expecting Jong-wook to fall in love with Yi-ju's younger sister. What's even more absurd is that the the reason Jong-wook wanted to get married was because Yura liked his imperfect body. After saying that, he didn't forget to slap his thigh and remind Do-guk that his miserable life was caused by Do-guk. Do-guk mocked Jong-wook, that clearly saying that it was your fault back then, but you still blamed me. Now Jong-wook was colluding with Yura. How shameless. Jong-wook was angry and rushed over to teach Do-guk a lesson, but was scolded by his grandmother. The family reunion ended unhappily. Yura was very angry because Jong-wook lost face in front of the elders. She ordered Jong-wook to quickly convince his parents to agree to their marriage. Jong-wook told Yura to do this. That was the price to pay for wanting to become the wife of the crown prince of the Taeja group. Yura was so angry that she could only beat her bag like crazy to vent her anger. Iju had already begun her revenge plan. First, she took the most valuable work in the gallery under the pretext of helping Jong-hye increase the gallery's revenue. Then, she went to her father and deliberately mentioned that Yura wanted to marry Jong-wook. Jong-wook had a bad reputation. Iju asked her father to help prevent the marriage between the two. After saying that, she used the excuse of plucking her father's gray hair and secretly took his hair for a DNA test. That night, Iju's father went to see his wife. He scolded her and Yura make him losing face outside. If the bad things between Jong-wook and Yura were exposed, the company's image would definitely be damaged. Jong-hae was so angry that she rushed to find Iju's grandfather and wanted to get the shares that he promised to Yura as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, when Jong-wook arrived at the hospital, she found out that Iju's grandfather had already left. He also left a message asking her to help him with the discharge procedures. Jong-hae was furious and wanted to quickly find Iju's grandfather. Jong-hae went to see a fortune teller and gave her a large sum of money. The fortune teller saw the money and said that she had not met Iju's grandfather. On the contrary, the fortune teller reminded Jong-hae that Do-guk's grandmother had brought Iju here. They learned about Iju's background from her. Jong-hae was extremely scared after hearing that. Jong-wook suddenly remembered something and took out the paper that Iju's grandfather left behind. She recognized that the handwriting was exactly the same as Iju's. Jong-hae was going crazy because she was deceived by these two people. Currently, Iju's grandfather was in a new hospital. He contacted a lawyer to prepare to transfer all the shares to Iju when the stock price dropped. On this side, Iju and Jong-hae's assistant met. The assistant reminded Iju that Jong-hae had begun to suspect that she knew about her background and was secretly cooperating with her grandfather. The assistant also had clues about the nanny that Iju had asked him to investigate before. As long as they find someone who receives Jong-hae's orders to give Iju the medicine, she can defeat Jong-hae. Iju thanks the assistant for working for her. She gives him the masterpiece painting because she often sees him standing there in a daze. This makes the assistant very touched. Yura has recently been thinking of ways to convince Do-guk's family, so she goes to Se-hyuk and wants him to find Iju's weakness to defeat Iju. Then Yura can be promoted, but Se-hyuk keeps speaking up for Iju. Yura is very angry and scolds Se-hyuk for not forgetting his ex-fiancée. It's obvious that she is the one who is most harmed. Se-hyuk has no choice but to go to Iju's house to find out the news. By chance, he meets Do-guk's secretary to get something for Do-guk. The secretary bends down to pick up the documents that fell on the ground and doesn't notice that Se-hyuk has sneaked into the house. Se-hyuk enters Iju's room and accidentally discovers that the nightstand is open. He took out the document inside and was immediately surprised. In the evening, Iju returned home after a busy day. Do-guk had prepared delicious food for her. The two enjoyed this warm and sweet moment. Iju mentioned Jong-hae. She knew that she would have to confront Jong-wook in the future. Do-guk was worried that she would be hurt, but Iju smiled gently. Since marrying Do-guk, she was no longer afraid because she knew she had a safe haven. After speaking, she asked Do-guk if he could return to the Taeja group to confront Jong-wook. Do-guk thought for a moment and then agreed. Iju was now where he placed his trust and soul. To protect their home, he was willing to do anything. The two enjoyed this sweet moment without knowing that danger was approaching. The next day, Iju went to Do-guk's company and waited for him to get off work. Unexpectedly, she met Se-hyuk. He sadly asks her if she is doing well. Se-hyuk asks Iju if she really likes Do-guk and that's why she married him. Iju didn't know how to answer. She loved Do-guk very much, but she didn't want to say these words to unrelated people. At that moment, Do-guk walked over. He hugged Iju's waist and warned Se-hyuk not to approach his wife without permission in the future. Otherwise, Do-guk would not forgive Se-hyuk. After saying that, Do-guk led Iju away. Se-hyuk looked at the two of them happily together and took out the documents with a thoughtful expression. Do-guk and Iju went home to have dinner as usual. As soon as they entered the house, the whole family was waiting. Jong-wook looked at Do-guk smugly. Do-guk's mother took out the documents in her hand. This was the marriage contract between Iju and Do-guk. Do-guk's mother was very angry. Jong-wook and Yura provoked them even more. They said that the two of them deceived everyone by pretending to love each other. Jong-wook took this opportunity to expose Do-guk's thoughts that Do-guk wanted to get married to gain his grandmother's trust and receive the investment. After hearing this, Do-guk's mother was very angry. The grandmother was so angry that she felt unwell and was taken back to her room to rest. Do-guk explained to his father that their marriage indeed started with deception, but over time, as they interacted with each other, they gradually fell in love. Jong-wook laughed out loud to show his contempt. The father was extremely disappointed in Do-guk, so he temporarily did not want to say much. Jong-wook stood nearby and mocked Do-guk. Do-guk grabbed Jong-wook's collar and angrily scolded him for breaking into someone else's house to steal things. Jong-wook reminded Do-guk that it was all because he had deceived his parents. This was the essence of deception, which was already a wrongdoing. The two argued with each other. Do-guk's mother stepped forward to stop them and chase them away. The sound of arguing woke Grandma up, but it seemed like Grandma had already seen through the truth. Do-guk's deception of the family was definitely wrong and caused the adults to be hurt. But Jong-wook tried to get the contract out to everyone. He also had his own selfish motives. What hurt Grandma more was that the two brothers could not get along. Yura planned to take the opportunity to fight back. She made a deal with Se-hee that she planned to take this opportunity to kick Yi-ju out of Do-guk's house. Not long after, Se-hee posted bad news about Yi-ju. The news said that Yi-ju's private life was chaotic and that she could not live without a man. Yi-ju abandoned her fiancé and married another man. Se-hee also posted a video of her mother kneeling down to beg Yi-ju and was pushed away by Yi-ju. As soon as the post was posted, all the comments were scolding Yi-ju. Se-hyuk read the post and guessed that his sister had posted it online. He ordered his sister to delete the post immediately. Se-hee hung up the phone and enjoyed the bag Yura gave her. This was the reward she received. Do-guk also saw the post, but he couldn't contact Yi-ju. At this time, Jong-hae's assistant called Do-guk to tell him a secret. Yi-ju was attending a cooking class at the time. She wanted to take advantage of the class to explain clearly to her mother-in-law. The two of them didn't say anything to each other. The other ladies saw that the two were having a conflict. One of them told Yi-ju's mother-in-law that divorce wasn't a big deal these days and planned to introduce girls to Do-guk. Hearing that, Do-guk's mother was unhappy. Who would suddenly curse someone else's son to divorce? The two of them argued, and the other lady grabbed Do-guk's mother's shirt. Seeing that her mother-in-law was in trouble, Yi-ju immediately took out her cell phone to record the scene of the other lady using violence. The other lady turned to attack Yi-ju and scolded her as an adopted child. Yi-ju went up to talk back and was slapped by the lady. Yi-ju was different now. Yi-ju slapped her back without hesitation. At this time, the cooking teacher appeared and criticized the lady who caused the trouble first. The lady was so angry that she took off her apron and left. Yi-ju asked the lady to apologize to her mother-in-law or she would not let it go. After the matter was resolved, Yi-ju and her mother-in-law were finally able to sit down and talk properly. The mother-in-law was very heartbroken in her daily life. She had gradually liked Yi-ju, but suddenly found out that she had been deceived by Yi-ju. She could not forgive Yi-ju for the time being. Yi-ju was about to say something when Do-guk came over and took out the video of Se-hyuk's mother kneeling. He explained clearly that Jong-hae had instructed Se-hyuk's mother to kneel and then filmed the video. He also learned that this video was edited by Yura and Se-hye before being posted online. Furthermore, when Yi-ju was young, someone kept putting drugs in her food, causing her to faint. Since then, Yi-ju was haunted by the thought of only daring to eat the food she cooked herself. Do-guk's mother was shocked. Who would have thought that someone who lived under the same roof could treat Yi-ju so cruelly? After saying that, Do-guk knelt down and begged his mother to help him. This was the second time in his life that he begged his mother. Hearing Do-guk's plea, Do-guk's mother's expression immediately became determined. She personally went to see Jong-hae. Jong-hae was secretly happy, thinking that everything that had happened recently would cause Yi-ju to be kicked out of her husband's house. Jong-hae even pretended to apologize, but Do-guk's mother exposed her true nature. It seemed that Jong-hae was still quite happy, so the two sides went straight to the point. Jong-hae directly asked Do-guk's mother if she agreed to let Do-guk and Yi-ju divorce. Do-guk's mother answered yes, but the person she was talking about was not Yi-ju and Do-guk, but the marriage between Yura and Jong-wook. Jong-hae was surprised that Do-guk's mother would forgive Yi-ju so easily. Do-guk's mother was really angry about being deceived, but she didn't want to let petty people like Jong-hae be complacent. Hearing that, Jong-hae was surprised, but Do-guk's mother smiled triumphantly. Jong-hae thought that Yi-ju would be kicked out of her husband's house. Unexpectedly, Do-guk's mother didn't mean it at all. Jong-hae angrily told Jong-wook about this, but he said that he had his own plans. When the two brothers went home for dinner, Jong-wook brought up the old story. He talked about how 20 years ago, he fell into the sea from a boat because of Do-guk. Do-guk had had enough of his brother using this story to pretend to be pitiful. Do-guk took out his cell phone, which contained a video of the incident 20 years ago. Even the voice was recorded very clearly. At that time, a group of tourists taking pictures of migratory birds accidentally recorded the scene. After getting the video, Do-guk begged his mother to go public to calm things down. But Do-guk's mother did not speak up to let her biological son Do-guk suffer injustice. Instead, she protected her husband's illegitimate son, Jong-wook. In front of the whole family, Do-guk continued to ask Jong-wook about the situation at that time. The truth was completely opposite. It was Jong-wook who tried to push Do-guk off the boat. Unexpectedly, he slipped and fell. Seeing that he could no longer hide the truth, Jong-wook said that it had been many years. Moreover, he was still young at the time, and the incident happened, so he panicked, and his memory was messed up. Grandma spoke up to stop him, but the brothers continued to argue. She grabbed Do-guk's phone and threw it on the ground. She did not check the video, but called the two brothers to her room and decided to let them fight to determine the winner. Grandma ordered Do-guk to return to the company. She will choose a successor within a year. Do-guk is planning to do this. He is ready to return to the company to compete with his brother. Jong-wook plans to collude with Jong-hae to tarnish Do-guk's image so that Do-guk cannot win against him. After leaving Grandma's house, Do-guk buys food and wants to cook for Yeju himself. Do-guk hugs Yeju. He wants to have dinner with the woman he loves. This is the happiest thing. Do-guk feels sorry for Yeju for what happened in the past. She was made difficult when she was at Jong-hae's house. After marrying him, she had to endure public criticism. Do-guk will definitely not let go of those who hurt Yeju. He calls Se-hyuk to play the video of Se-hyuk sneaking into his house that was filmed by someone else. Not only that, Do-guk also knows about Se-hee posting. Se-hyuk and Se-hee have broken the law. Do-guk was happy to wait for the two cousins to be arrested. Se-hyuk explained in panic. Do-guk said that he wanted to know how his marriage contract with Yeju fell into Yura's hands. Also, did Yura order Se-hee to post it online? As long as Se-hyuk told the truth, Do-guk was willing to handle it privately. The article about Yeju was still hot. The ladies in the cooking class expressed their dissatisfaction with Yeju right in front of her, but this time Yeju didn't care about them. The teacher came to comfort Yeju and cooked delicious food for her. Yeju felt amazing. She had an aversion to food cooked by others, but she ate the food cooked by the teacher without hesitation. The teacher seemed to like Yeju very much and wanted to be friends with her. The two of them chatted while eating. Yeju agreed to the teacher's request. After the meal, the two of them cleaned up together. Yeju noticed the burn on the teacher's arm. The teacher also openly admitted that she had been in a fire. She couldn't get close to fire before, so she overcame her fear and became a cooking teacher. After learning to cook, Yeju visited Do-guk's grandmother. Yeju even cooked for grandmother herself. Yeju took this opportunity to tell grandma about being drugged in the food. So eating was not a good thing for her, but a survival instinct. But because she met Do-guk, she began to change her mind. She wanted to cook delicious meals for Do-guk. The grandmother asked Yeju if she liked Do-guk. Yeju immediately affirmed that she liked him very much. After sending Yeju off, the grandmother remembered what Do-guk had said to her. He wanted to keep Yeju by his side with a contract. When he met Yeju, a lonely person like him felt at home. If his grandson said so, how could the grandmother separate the two? Grandma agreed to let the two of them lie to their family. On the way back, Yeju received a call from Jong-hae's assistant. He said that he had found the nanny. Yeju happily followed the assistant to meet the nanny. The nanny was very excited when she saw Yeju. The nanny told the truth about how she was kicked out of the house years ago. Many years ago, Jong-hae came home in a very angry state. That night, Yeju passed out after dinner. After the examination, the doctor concluded that Yeju's food had been poisoned. Jong-hae thought that the nanny had put the medicine in, but the nanny was falsely accused. The nanny was so angry that she couldn't stand it. She was sure that Jong-hae put the medicine in. After that, the nanny was kicked out. But the nanny was still worried about Yeju, so she secretly went back in the middle of the night. At this moment, Jong-hae returned, so the nanny quickly hid in the closet and accidentally heard Jong-hae's cruel words. Not only that, the nanny also revealed that Jong-hae had brought men home. Yeju said goodbye to the nanny. After that, she told her grandfather about this and asked him to transfer the company shares to her. Grandfather had this idea for a long time, intending to wait until bad news about the company was revealed and then transfer it to her. After saying that, Grandpa took out an old photo album of Yeju and gave it to her. Yeju saw that there was an article about the fire in which the culprit was cleared of suspicion of arson. Yeju was thinking about stocks and did not pay much attention to this. Elsewhere, Se-hyuk went to see Do-guk. He told Se-hee to delete the article, but Do-guk was still not satisfied. Do-guk told Se-hyuk to get evidence that Yura was the mastermind. Se-hyuk was determined to protect Yura. Even if he quit his job, he still wanted to protect the woman he loved. Do-guk sarcastically said that the person he loved had another man. The person Do-guk was talking about was of course Jong-wook. Now Jong-wook receives bad news that the group's cement supplier arbitrarily changed the ratio, causing some substandard concrete to be difficult to meet the construction schedule. Jong-wook is worried that the group will investigate the matter of him receiving the discount, so he asks his subordinates to quickly handle this matter. Then Jong-wook goes to dinner with Yura and talks very intimately. This scene is seen by Se-hyuk, who follows Yura. This makes him extremely angry. Now Se-hee has been arrested and taken to the police station. Se-hyuk is about to be sued by Do-guk for trespassing. Yura is happily dating another man. Se-hyuk deliberately challenges Yura. He asks her to help him and his sister. Yura immediately reveals her true nature and says that it was he and Se-hee who did these bad things that had nothing to do with her. Se-hyuk is extremely extremely angry, he goes to find Yi-ju and kneels down in front of her to apologize for what happened before. He should not have deliberately married her to approach Yura and thereby commit many irreparable mistakes. Yi-ju's eyes turned red. She asked Se-hyuk to make up for her sins. The Taeja Group's board of directors was convened. In this meeting, everyone proposed that Do-guk take the position of vice president and head of the group's environmental protection committee. Jong-wook took the opportunity to cause trouble. He criticized Do-guk for not being worthy of being the committee head because Yi-ju's story had caused a stir online, which was not good for the group's image. Do-guk calmly told Jong-wook that the trend of online public opinion had reversed. It turned out that Yi-ju had asked Se-hyuk to explain to the media that he liked his fiancée's younger sister and fabricated the post under the direction of his fiancée's younger sister. After saying that, Do-guk provided the recording of the conversation. The entire meeting was immediately in an uproar as everyone debated who this younger sister was. At this time, Do-guk spoke up and said that the person was Yura, Vice President Jong-wook's fiancé. Do-guk's attack was not over yet. He collected online comments about the Taeja Group's latest construction site. Netizens accused the construction site of violating construction time and forcing them to work late at night. Despite the heavy rain, they still had to pour concrete, causing nearby residents to complain. After saying that, Do-guk warned Jong-wook that instead of being interested in other people's wives, he should focus on doing his job at the group well. Jong-wook had no retort and could only endure. Online public opinion turned Yura into the target of everyone's criticism. Jong-hae comforted the panicking Yura. Jong-hae told Yura to follow her words so Yura could safely get through this incident. As soon as the mother and daughter finished talking, Yi-ju brought her mother-in-law to the house. Yi-ju's mother-in-law scolded Yura for doing these evil things. Unexpectedly, Yura suddenly changed her expression and pretended to be weak and begged for forgiveness. She said that because Yi-ju took away Do-guk. Moreover, her marriage with Jong-wook broke down, so she resentfully made a mistake. She was willing to give up the gallery to follow Yi-ju's wishes. Jong-hae also stood up and apologized to Yi-ju. Jong-hae deliberately mentioned that Yi-ju did not help her father acquire the savings bank. Just then, Yi-ju's father's secretary came to report that because the company was a credit company, it failed to acquire the savings bank. Yi-ju's father was so angry that he almost fainted. Yura and Jong-hae's behavior made Yi-ju very upset. Seeing that her father was not well, she could only leave the company with her mother-in-law. Jong-hae continued to manipulate her husband. She gave her husband the medicine she had prepared and blamed Yi-ju for transferring grandfather to another hospital. Moreover, Yi-ju did not tell them where the new hospital was. Yi-ju colluded with her grandfather and was determined to take the company from her father. Yi-ju's father was extremely angry and threw the medicine in his hand down. He began to suspect Yi-ju. Jong-hae threw the medicine into the trash as if nothing had happened. She was allowed by her husband to use his name to ask a lawyer to gain custody of Yi-ju's grandfather. Moreover, she also obtained Yi-ju's grandfather's certificate of dementia. Now that Yi-ju's grandfather had become a person with no civil capacity, so he could not transfer the shares for the time being. Yi-ju's father was very grateful to his wife. He agreed to temporarily hand over the management rights to his wife when the lawyer arrived. Since the shares could not be transferred for the time being, grandfather apologized to Yi-ju. He had been thinking a lot lately. He was uneasy about what Jong-hae had said to him years ago. It seemed that Jong-hae knew that Yi-ju was her husband's biological daughter. Yi-ju's expression suddenly changed. She took out the newspaper from the album. Yi-ju saw the name of the suspect in the arson case. She asked the nanny the name of the man who came to see Jong-hae. When she recognized the name exactly the same as the name on the newspaper, Yi-ju's whole body trembled and she almost couldn't hold the photo album. It turned out that the mastermind behind the arson was Jong-hae. It was Jong-hae who ordered her boyfriend Dong-soo to set fire to Yi-ju's biological mother. Yi-ju was so shocked that she fainted. When Yi-ju woke up and saw Do-guk beside her, she couldn't help but cry. She didn't know why her fate was so tragic. The evil Jong-hae felt that killing Yi-ju still hadn't calmed her anger and that she had to torment Yi-ju day after day. Do-guk felt very heartbroken. He embraced Yi-ju, who was crying uncontrollably, into his arms. Jong-hae hated Yi-ju so much. As long as Yi-ju was breathing, she felt that Yi-ju was guilty. Jong-hae felt disgusted when Yi-ju tried to please her in the past. Jong-hae thought that Yi-ju was pretending to be innocent, pretending to have no ambition like her biological mother. But in fact, she wanted to have everything. Do-guk stayed by Yi-ju's side all night without sleeping. After thinking about it, he wanted Yi-ju to tell her father the truth. Obviously, a kind person like her had done nothing wrong, so why should she silently endure everything? Yi-ju had always been afraid that her father's answer would disappoint her. This time, with Do-guk's encouragement, Yi-ju went to see her father. Yi-ju directly exposed Jong-hae's evil nature. Yi-ju told her father that Jong-hae had always plotted to usurp his position. This time, when he was sick, she took control of the company. Yi-ju's father couldn't believe that Yi-ju hated Jong-hae to this extent. Yi-ju didn't hesitate to slander Jong-hae. He wanted to sever ties with Yi-ju. Yi-ju's eyes suddenly turned red as the emotions that had been suppressed for years exploded. She revealed that she was his biological daughter. She put the DNA test results in front of him. Seeing her father's disbelief, Yi-ju was very angry. She picked up the medicine beside her and told her father that it was a nerve and appetite suppressant, exactly like what Zhang Hai gave her. Then she leaned close to her father's face and told him to see for himself. Yiju's father saw that Yiju's face looked very similar to his ex-lover and suddenly found it hard to believe. Yiju didn't say much. She gave her father a strand of hair and told him to go and check it himself. Before the test results were out, Yiju's father was sent home to recuperate by Zhang Hai. Zhang Hai smiled as she looked at her sleeping husband. She hugged Yura and sighed that finally, mother and daughter would no longer be looked down upon by others. Then she handed over the management of the exhibition hall to Yura. In Zhang Hai's heart, only her biological daughter, Yura, was her weakness. If she wanted to defeat her, starting with Yura was also not a bad choice. Unfortunately, Duguk did not think of this. He wanted to take revenge on the evil mother and avenge Yiju. When he learned that assistant Zhang Hai's family had been harmed by her, the assistant hated Zhang Hai very much. Duguk gave the assistant a large sum of money and told him to find Dong Su, the suspect in the fire. Duguk planned to make Zhang Hai lose everything when she reached the top. Now Zhang Hai has reached the peak of her life. After gaining control of the company, she was not satisfied. She planned to mobilize close shareholders to seize all the power of the company at the shareholders meeting. At the same time, she and Yura often appeared in the media, using the love scandal between Yura and the heir to the Teja group to win over shareholders. Duguk's mother, who was sensitive to the news, guessed Zhang Hai's intentions. She told Dona and Sujin to go help Yiju. That night, for the first time after their marriage, Yiju and Doguk had guests at home. Dona and husband, along with Sujin and lover, came to wish the newlyweds a happy marriage. They drank and chatted happily. While talking, Sujin joked that Yiju looked beautiful when she smiled. Sujin asked Doguk if this was what he liked about Yiju. Yiju shyly went to buy wine with Doguk. Doguk discovered that Yiju seemed to have changed into a different person. She was happier and more smiling, no longer cold like before. Yiju put her arm around the person she loved. Since getting married, she was no longer lonely and helpless. Being surrounded by happiness and love made Yiju full of courage. The two talked and laughed as they went home. Seeing everyone discussing excitedly about how to deal with Zhang He, Dona said that she had secretly obtained the company's shareholder list. She planned to contact these shareholders so that they would not side with Zhang Hai. Yiju looked at her friends who sincerely helped her. Her eyes filled with tears as she smiled and thanked everyone. The next day, Duguk, based on the clue provided by Zhang Hai's assistant, went to pick up the arsonist Dong Su from prison. Duguk invited Dong Su to eat tofu and said that I paid you the settlement money so you was released early. Duguk asked Dong Su if he had received orders from Zhang Hai to plot to harm Yiju and her biological mother. Of course, Dong Su did not admit it. Since Doguk had helped, he only revealed that Zhang Hai was his ex-lover. Duguk understood Dong Su's intentions, so he promised that if Dong Su told the truth, he would give Dong Su a large sum of money as a thank you gift. While Doguk was dealing with Zhang He, Yiju was not idle either. She discovered that in the company's shareholder list there was a woman who held 5% of the shares. Her name was very familiar, and her contact address was the place where Yiju attended the cooking class. Yiju suspected that she had come to find the teacher. Yiju didn't understand why she spent so much money to buy shares in a small company. The teacher guessed that Yiju wanted to cooperate with her to deal with Zhang He. Recently, the teacher had also been paying attention to the wives who attended the cooking class, who held shares. The teacher wanted to give Yiju their phone numbers. The teacher's good treatment of Yiju made her even more certain of her guess. She remembered the wound on the teacher's hand from the fire and the name of her biological mother that her father had mentioned. It was exactly the same as the teacher's name on the shareholder list. Yiju understood that the teacher was her biological mother. The teacher's identity was revealed, causing her to break down and cry loudly. She stopped Yiju, who was about to leave, and apologized. She said that she didn't mean to leave Yiju. Years ago, after escaping the fire, her father told her that Yiju had died. Because she was so depressed, she followed her father to America to live. It was not until recently, before her father's death, that he told the truth that her daughter did not die, but was sent to an orphanage. That's why she came to Korea to find her daughter and found out about Yiju's whereabouts. Because she was afraid that her daughter would resent her, she did not dare to reveal her identity. She just wanted to secretly become Yiju's friend and stay by Yiju's side to help. Yiju shed tears and questioned her biological mother that if you had any troubles, you should tell me. Even if Yiju's biological mother was rejected countless times, her mother should come close to Yiju and give love. Yiju's mother painfully hugged Yiju. The mother and daughter hugged each other and cried. This time, the mother and daughter worked together to take revenge on the evil Zhang He. Zhang Hai planned to go and convince the cooking teacher to take her side. She stood outside the door and saw this situation, scared, and quickly returned to the car. She scolded Dong Su for not being able to do his job. Just when Zhang He was at a loss for what to do, Yiju's grandfather's lawyer, who had been bribed by her, called. The lawyer said that Yiju's grandfather was trying to find a way to help Yiju. Zhang Hai suddenly thought of a plan. Very quickly, at Zhang Hai's request, the lawyer brought Yiju's grandfather in front of her. Yiju's grandfather was forced to sign the stock transfer contract, but he was not afraid at all and tore up the contract. Then he grabbed Zhang Hai's neck, wanting her to die with him. him and not let her harm his children and grandchildren. Jung Hye had a hard time pushing grandfather away. She angrily asked her subordinates to keep a close eye on grandfather. She had found a way to make Yi-ju's grandfather transfer the shares. Jung Hye angrily went home and saw Dong-su standing in front of the door. She quickly told her assistant to take Yura away. Then she took Dong-su to a remote place. Dong-su came here to tell Jung Hye that a few days ago, a man came to ask him about the fire incident. Jung Hye didn't know that the man was Do-guk. She told Dong-su to keep it a secret. If he hadn't messed things up back then, Yi-ju and her mother wouldn't have lived until now and caused so many problems. Dong-su was extremely scared when he heard that. Jung Hye asked him to kill Yi-ju to avoid future troubles. Very quickly after that, the shareholders meeting was held. Yi-ju's father called his beautifully dressed wife. He threw the DNA test results to her. He asked if Yi-ju was his biological daughter. Jung Hye panicked and tore up the test results. She scolded her husband that she was trying her best to save the company, but he used Yi-ju's fake certificate to doubt her. Jung Hye pretended to be pitiful. She comforted her husband and hurriedly went to attend the meeting. She didn't notice her husband's suspicious gaze behind her. The first proposal of the shareholders meeting was to remove Yi-ju's father from his position. When voting, the teacher stood up and asked Jung Hye how the chairman's condition was and hoped that she would answer truthfully. Yi-ju also stood up and asked Jung Hye to explain why her father did not hand over the management power to the director but to Jung Hye. Jung Hye did not care at all. Jung Hye ordered the staff to drag Yi-ju out. While the people were arguing, the assistant suddenly brought the grandfather to the meeting hall. Today, the assistant went to the company's warehouse to get something and accidentally saw the grandfather being locked inside. The assistant saved Yi-ju's grandfather and brought him to the shareholders meeting. Before Yi-ju's grandfather could sit down, he opened his mouth and scolded Jung Hye for being a good-for-nothing. Not only did she forge the hospital certificate, turning him into an old man with dementia, now Jung Hye also wanted to destroy his son who controlled the company. She was truly shameless. In order to prevent Jung Hye from achieving her goal, Yi-ju's grandfather planned to file for a mental examination and revoke the guardianship of the adult who transferred shares to his granddaughter, Yi-ju. Yi-ju would soon become the largest shareholder of the company. Yi-ju clearly showed her attitude to the shareholders that her family had been having frequent disputes recently and was not suitable to manage the company. She was willing to delegate the company to a professional manager. The shareholders immediately applauded. Seeing that she had failed, Jung Hye angrily left the hall. She complained to her husband and wanted him to manage her unruly child Yi-ju. Her husband scolded her for being shameless, clearly wanting the position of chairman and even blaming Yi-ju. Jung Hye opened her eyes wide in surprise. Before she could react, grandfather and Yi-ju brought the nanny to expose her evil nature. Yi-ju's father threw the DNA test results at her. He personally went to the forensic department to find out that Yi-ju was really his biological daughter. Now Jung Hye became the target of everyone's criticism, but she didn't feel guilty at all. She shouted that Yura was Yi-ju's father's biological daughter and Yi-ju was the fake. Yi-ju's father angrily kicked her out. Yi-ju chased after Jung Hye. Yi-ju grabbed Jung Hye by the collar and swore that I would find evidence that you hired someone to do evil and make you repent in prison for the rest of your life. Jung Hye was not afraid and pushed Yi-ju's hand away, telling her to do whatever she wanted. Then Jung Hye arrogantly drove away, not paying attention to Do-guk, who was following her. Jung Hye went to the hotel to rent a room and found that her husband had blocked all her cards. She had no money left, so she had to go to the inn to find Dong-su and asked if she could stay with him temporarily. After saying that, she took the key from Dong-su's chest and with a disdainful expression entered the old motel. Do-guk saw that Jung Hye had left, so he called Dong-su back. Do-guk planned to use money to bribe Dong-su to work for him. Dong-su greedily said that Jung Hye had given him 300,000 won to kill Yi-ju. Do-guk offered double the price to Dong-su to find out news about Jung Hye. At the same time, Do-guk gave him a wiretap. Seeing the money, Dong-su immediately agreed. Recently, Yura has been suffering from loss of appetite and feels nauseous when smelling food. She was about to bring food into the kitchen when she accidentally heard the conversation between her father and grandfather. Her father regretted not recognizing Yi-ju sooner. In fact, over the years, he always felt that Yi-ju looked more like him than Yura. This made him hate Yi-ju even more. He didn't want the child from the orphanage to be like him. Now that the truth has been revealed, Yi-ju's father hated the old him. He didn't dare to face Yi-ju and beg for her forgiveness. Yura looked at the two people crying miserably because of Yi-ju, and she felt resentful. She didn't want to stay in this house anymore, so she went to Jong-wook for help. Yura wanted to cooperate with him to deal with Yi-ju. Jong-wook didn't care about Yura's house. He took the opportunity to advise Yura to sell the high-end fake paintings that Jung Hye had hidden. Then he took the money to help him bribe the senior managers of the Taeja group. As long as he became the heir to the group, it would be easy for Yura to deal with Yi-ju. Yura just said that she would consider it now that she was facing a difficult situation. She asked Jong-wook to let her stay at the Taeja group's hotel for a while. Jong-wook agreed. Yura had just moved into the hotel when she suddenly discovered that she was pregnant. She panicked and went to find her mother to discuss countermeasures. Jung Hye found out that her daughter was pregnant with Jong-wook's child. She was happy to know that Do-guk's grandmother liked children the most. artist. Once Do-guk's grandmother knew that she had a grandchild to hold, she would definitely love Yura very much. Maybe Do-guk's grandmother would make Jong-wook the heir to the group. According to Jong-hae's words, Yura went to see Jong-wook. She told Jong-wook that she was pregnant. Unexpectedly, he suspected that the child in her belly was not his. Yura felt humiliated. She scolded Jong-wook. Whether he admitted it or not, the child was still his. Later, she would raise the child to be the heir to the Taeja group. Seeing Yura's agitated mood because of his words, Jong-wook knew that the child was his. He hugged Yura and praised her for doing a good job. In another place, after obtaining the wiretap, Dong-soo found a chance to get information. That night, he made an appointment to meet Jong-hae and asked her to give him half of the deposit before killing Lee-ju. Jong-hae doesn't have that much money now, so she told Dong-soo to calm down. She had many works by famous artists. If she sold a painting, people would fight over it. Do-guk and everyone else heard the conversation between the two through the wiretap. The assistant remembered that whenever Jong-hae was short of money, she would auction off paintings by famous artists, but no one knew where she got the paintings from. Lee-ju suddenly remembered the auction in her previous life. The rich lady exposed Jong-hae for selling fake paintings. She realized that Jong-hae did not own any famous artists' paintings. There was definitely an artist who was painting fake paintings for Jong-hae. If she could find this artist, Jong-hae could go to jail for fraud. To make sure that the painting in Jong-hae's hand was fake, Lee-ju asked the assistant for help. She told him to bring the famous painting she had given him for appraisal. Dong-soo wanted to find out if Jong-hae was telling the truth, so he went to the exhibition hall, sat in the representative chair, and leisurely cut his nails. Yura returned and saw this scene and was very angry. Dong-soo was about to ask about the paintings when he suddenly realized that Yura looked a bit like him. He smiled meaningfully. Before leaving, he put the lipstick Jong-hae left at the motel on the table and told Yura to return it to her mother. Yura heard Dong-soo's words and thought about the conversation between her father and grandfather that night. She looked at the lipstick on the table in confusion. Yura thought about how her mother was still related to Dong-soo. She couldn't help but doubt her identity. Yura went to see her grandfather to ask for information about Dong-soo. Seeing Yura's worried expression, her grandfather could only say that Dong-soo was her mother's ex-lover. Jong-hae had even ordered Dong-soo to set fire and almost burned Lee-ju and her biological mother. Yura was very surprised when she knew about her mother's true nature. She returned to the gallery in shock and met Lee-ju, who had been waiting there for a long time. Lee-ju came to tell Yura that the gallery was about to close. Jong-hae's assistant had asked an expert to appraise the masterpiece and found that the painting was indeed a fake. The gallery that sold fake paintings would soon be arrested by the police. Yura was furious. Jong-hae had sworn that the paintings were real. It turned out that Jong-hae had always lied to Yura. Yura rushed into the hotel room to ask her mother for clarification, but as soon as she entered, she heard Jong-hae lying. Jong-hae lied to the rich ladies that she was going abroad for a vacation. Jong-hae also revealed the news of Yura's pregnancy to the ladies. Jong-hae proudly said that Yura will become a member of the Taeja group in the future. Yura felt extremely desperate, so she ran out. Her trust of so many years had collapsed. Yura returned to the gallery holding the nail clipper Dong-soo had used. She wanted to personally check if she was Dong-soo's daughter. The next day, Yura made an appointment to meet her mother. Yura asked her mother directly if she was her father's biological daughter. Jong-hae confirmed that her expression did not change, that Yura was her and her husband's daughter. Suddenly, Yura's face darkened. Yura told her mother that the gallery was accused of selling counterfeit goods by Lee-ju. The police had already come to arrest Jong-hae. Jong-hae turned around and saw the police coming. She was scared and ran away to Dong-soo's car. Jong-hae told him to drive to the hospital where Lee-ju's grandfather used to live in Ganhwa district. The two of them would take the paintings there and sell them to Japan before running away. Because Gook heard the conversation between the two through the wiretap, he quickly informed Lee-ju. The two of them split into two directions to go to the hospital. Dong-soo took Jong-hae near the hospital. Just then, Jong-hae saw Lee-ju, who had arrived earlier, talking to Do-guk on the side of the road. Jong-hae ordered Dong-soo to act on Lee-ju. The two would split the proceeds from the sale of the painting equally. Unable to resist, Dong-soo drove towards Lee-ju. Do-guk arrived later and saw this scene, so he quickly reminded Lee-ju. Lee-ju turned her head and saw the car rushing towards her and Jong-hae's sinister expression. She was extremely frightened. Fortunately, Do-guk rushed to block Lee-ju. Do-guk got out of the car and comforted Lee-ju. He felt lucky that he didn't lose Lee-ju again. Lee-ju didn't understand what he said. When she was about to ask, the police suddenly came and arrested Jong-hae and Dong-soo. Then the painter was also taken out. Jong-hae's assistant was startled when he saw his face. It turned out that he was the real painter of that masterpiece. Jong-hae locked the painter in the hospital and regularly gave him psychiatric medication. She asked him to paint for her and lied that the artist was dead. Jong-hae wanted to sell his paintings at a high price. Very quickly, Jong-hae and Dong-soo were taken to the police station. The old fire case was reinvestigated. The police discovered traces on the gas tank that exploded in the fire, proving that Dong-soo had intentionally set the fire. Dong-soo saw that everything was exposed, so he quickly took out the recording of Jong-hae, ordering him to deny responsibility. He said that she ordered him to do it. Jong-hae's assistant also appeared at the police station and revealed that he was the artist's son. He accused Jong-hae high of imprisoning his father. This time, Jung Hae committed many serious crimes and was taken away by the police. After Jung Hae was arrested, Iju and Do-guk returned home. Iju finally had the chance to ask Do-guk what he said earlier. She said why he was afraid of losing her again. Do-guk was around, and in a panic, he knocked over the cup. While cleaning, he accidentally cut his hand. Iju looked at Do-guk's wound. She accidentally saw the date symbol on his wrist and couldn't help but be startled. It turned out that Iju died and came back to life a year ago. After waking up, there was a symbol on her wrist that recorded the date of her death. Now she saw that Do-guk also had this symbol on his hand, exactly the same as the time she died. Iju asked him and found out that Do-guk was also the one who went back to the past. What made her even more unbelievable was that the day of the collision happened, the person who stabbed her was Do-guk. After the collision, Do-guk wanted to save the unconscious Iju. As a result, he was already seriously injured and passed out when he woke up and went back to a year ago. Do-guk was very sad. He blamed himself for hurting the person he loved, so he couldn't tell Iju the truth. Do-guk didn't have the courage to face her. After saying that, he moved to a hotel to stay, leaving Iju sad. Iju went to find her biological mother, hoping to be comforted. Seeing Iju come alone, her biological mother guessed that there was a problem between Iju and Do-guk. Iju was in tears in front of her mother. She was afraid that Do-guk was with her out of guilt and sympathy, not out of love. Her biological mother patiently comforted daughter. From Do-guk's eyes and actions, she could see that he loved Iju very much. Iju had been treated coldly by Jung Hae since she was little. This made Iju think that she could not be loved. Her biological mother painfully held Iju's hand. Later, she would repay Iju many times over. She would give all her love to her daughter. Elsewhere, Yu-ra was about to become a mother, so her belly was getting bigger and bigger. She told Jung-wook to quickly arrange for the two families to meet and discuss the wedding. Jung-wook could only take Yu-ra to meet her parents. Jung-wook's grandmother was very happy when she saw the baby's ultrasound image. Do-guk's mother stared at Yu-ra, who was sitting there with no expression. After discussing the wedding, Jung-wook had just left the house when he received an emergency call. Secretary Jang told him that due to the speeding up of the construction site without a safety net, a worker fell from the third floor of the construction site and was seriously injured. Jung-wook told Secretary Jang to contact the contractor to handle the seriously injured worker and push all the responsibility onto this person to avoid the construction site not installing enough safety equipment being exposed. Not long after, the seriously injured worker passed away. Do-guk felt that something was wrong. That night, he sent staff to the funeral site for the worker and discovered that there was a group of thugs guarding the door like this. They were definitely hiding something. To investigate the truth, Do-guk asked Do-na to meet the worker's wife and secretly brought the wife to see him. The wife cried and said that the group put all the responsibility on her husband and asked her to reconcile as soon as possible. The company had documents proving that all the responsibility belonged to her husband. Do-guk heard that there were documents proving that he was in deep thought. Yi-ju watched the news about the worker's accident and wanted to send a message of concern to Do-guk, but she composed it for a long time but still did not send it. After thinking for a while, she took her clothes and bring it for Do-guk at hotel. As soon as they met, she asked Do-guk about the construction site. Do-guk sighed. He had found some clues, but he was wondering whether he should make this public or not. Once everything was exposed, both his family and the group would be harmed. Iju was very angry. She did not want Do-guk to always try to cover up the problem. Hiding the problem would not solve the problem, but instead would cause greater damage when everything was exposed. Do-guk was persuaded by Iju, so the next day, he went to meet Secretary Jang. Do-guk wanted to get the documents related to the worker's death. Do-guk saw Secretary Jang talking to his child, so Do-guk deliberately mentioned that the wife of the dead worker was pregnant. The child was born without a father and was criticized by others, which was really pitiful. Secretary Jang was touched and gave the documents to Do-guk. Do-guk took the documents to his grandmother and father. He said that the company did not ensure labor safety, causing the worker to die. After this incident, Jung-wook colluded with the contractor to push the responsibility onto the worker. Then, Do-guk brought out the USB with evidence of Jung-wook's embezzlement that Secretary Jang had given him. Do-guk's father was very angry when he heard that. He went to find Jung-wook and threw the evidence of Jung-wook's embezzlement on the table. Jung-wook saw that things were not going well and quickly pretended to be pitiful. He threw down his stick and knelt down in front of his father to beg for forgiveness, but it was too late. His grandmother held a press conference. Grandma admits that the construction site did not implement adequate safety measures, which led to the accident and death of the workers. She apologizes to the public and appoints Do-guk as the inspector of all the company's construction sites. Yura watches the news and becomes frantic. The Jung-wook she bet on is now the one the corporation abandoned. After the incident, Do-guk calls Yi-ju. He tells her to go to his bedroom and open the secret room, which contains what he wants her to see. Yi-ju discovers that the secret room contains her paintings. Those are the paintings she is most satisfied with, which have been sold overseas. She is confused and asks Do-guk why he have her paintings. Do-guk smiles and says that he bought Yi-ju's paintings overseas years ago. Since then, he has been fascinated by this painting, so he really wants to find the artist who painted them. When he returned to Korea, he found out that the artist was Yi-ju, but she was already engaged. Do-guk could only silently care about Yi-ju. Yiju. Until the first time they met, he saw Yiju being harmed by her own family, which made him very angry. Then, on the way back, he had a traffic accident and returned to a year ago. Yiju seemed to have turned into a different person. She asked him to sign a marriage contract with him to take revenge on Jonghye and Yura. Yiju asked why he accepted her offer. Doguk admitted directly because he loved her. After saying that, Doguk kissed Yiju. Just like that, the two had a sweet night. The next day, the two reconciled and went to see a fortune teller and wanted to ask why they went back to the past. The fortune teller rang the bell to ask the gods to answer their questions. After performing the spell, the fortune teller said that it was clear that the traffic accident would only kill one person. However, both people died, causing chaos in time and space. The fortune teller advised the two of them to stay and cherish the 1 year that the gods had given them. Doguk wondered why the gods had given them time, but did not mention reversing time. Could it be that they had not traveled here? Yiju advised him not to think too much. The only thing the two of them could do was cherish the time before their eyes. In the following months, Yiju often visited her birth mother's house. One day, Ijo, Dona, and Sujin came to eat delicious food that Yiju's mother had cooked, and suddenly, Yiju felt nauseous. Yiju quickly went to the bathroom to check and was surprised to find out that she was pregnant. Doguk was extremely happy when he heard the news. He happily hugged his lover tightly. Today was the day the two of them had a traffic accident. Yiju thought that her pregnancy was a good sign that the two of them could definitely have a peaceful day. Suddenly, the staff called Doguk and asked to meet urgently, so he hurried to the meeting place. Doguk learned from the staff that Jongwook was injured in prison and was taken to the hospital for treatment, but he took the opportunity to escape. Doguk suddenly felt something was wrong, so he rushed home. He found that Yiju had disappeared. Doguk panicked and didn't know what to do. He and the staff checked the camera and found that Yiju had been drugged and taken away by a mysterious person in black. Halfway there, the person in black took off his hat and it was Jongwook. The staff was surprised and quickly told Doguk that Jongwook's leg was fine. After saying that, the staff quickly reported the license plate number to the police. The police used GPS to share the location with Doguk. Doguk saw the location and found Jongwook driving to the scene of the previous incident. He was very worried and accelerated to chase after him. At this time, Yiju gradually regained consciousness. She struggled to untie the rope that bound her hands. Jongwook was driving and didn't pay attention to her actions. Yiju was untied. She took the opportunity to hold Jongwook's neck, forcing him to stop the car. Jongwook angrily rushed up, grabbed Yiju's neck, causing her to faint, then tied her up again. Then Doguk arrived at the scene. Without saying anything, he rushed forward and punched Jongwook to the ground. Then he hurriedly ran to check Yiju's wound. Jongwook angrily took advantage of Doguk's unpreparedness to attack and stomped on Doguk's wound. Yiju cried out in pain when she saw this. Jongwook intended to attack Yiju, but was knocked to the ground by Doguk. At this time, a truck rushed towards Jongwook and Doguk. Yiju shouted Doguk's name, holding her head with both hands, not daring to look any further. Luckily, the truck passed by Doguk. At the same time, the symbols on Doguk and Yiju's hands disappeared. Doguk was taken to the hospital and was temporarily in a coma due to severe abdominal injuries. Doguk's mother did not blame Yiju. Instead, she comforted the panicking Yiju. Doguk's father went to the police station to meet Jongwook. Until now, Jongwook still did not feel regretful, but on the contrary, he blamed his father for abandoning his mother, causing him to have a difficult life between his stepmother and Doguk. Although Jongwook's leg had healed completely, he still had to pretend to be disabled to make the whole family feel sorry for him. Being blamed like that by son, Doguk's father shed tears. He took out a letter from Jongwook's biological mother and gave it to Jongwook. He told Jongwook that the two of them would no longer have anything to do with each other. After reading the letter, Jongwook understood that his mother ran away with another man, abandoning him and his father. At this time, Jongwook probably regretted what he had done. Jongwook was arrested and imprisoned, while Yura was kicked out of the hotel because no one paid for the room. She was depressed and brought her pregnant belly to Dok's house. Yura shamelessly said that she had to live here and asked the whole family to take responsibility. After all, the child in her womb was innocent. Grandma said she would agree if the child in Yura's womb was Jongwook's. Hearing that she had to do a DNA test, Yura suddenly lost her arrogance. She tensed up and held her stomach, saying nothing. At this time, Doguk was pushed into the operating room. Yiju anxiously waited outside for him to return safely. She thought about the beautiful memories of the two of them and couldn't hold back her tears. She finally understood that God wanted her to go back a year ago, not for revenge, but to meet Doguk to heal her painful and helpless life. Doguk was in a coma, his memories returning to the day of the accident. That day, after Doguk's car collided with Yiju's, a truck suddenly came and crashed straight into Yiju's car and crashed Doguk's car. Doguk looked at the unconscious Yiju trying to crawl towards her. He felt sorry for Yiju, who was not loved and ended up in this situation. He begged God to give her back her life, to let her love and be loved and enjoy a good life. Then Doguk died and returned to the present. The surgery was successful and Doguk finally woke up. When he opened his eyes, Yiju cried and walked to his side. She had been looking after Doguk for 2 months. It was not easy for her to wait until he woke up. Yiju cried and hugged Doguk, feeling the feeling after losing him. Not long after, Doguk recovered and was discharged from the hospital to go home. Now that the bad guy has been punished, the two decided to forget all the unhappy memories and welcome a new life. A family of 3 lives happily together. Compared to Yeju, who is happy, Yura is struggling to make a living. With nowhere else to go, she goes to Sehyok's house. Today Sehyok brought his girlfriend home, and the two decided to get married. The girl also said she wanted to take Sehee to the mall to buy a bag as a gift for Sehyok's younger sister. Sehee happily accepted. Unexpectedly, Yura came and ruined everything. Yura go into the house and said that Sehyok was the father of the baby, shocking the whole family. Sehyok remembered that he had indeed slept with Yura. Maybe he really was the father of the baby. Faced with his girlfriend's question, Sehyok could only apologize to her. Hearing that, his girlfriend hurriedly left. Sehyok didn't understand why Yura kept the baby if Yura didn't love him at all. Yura was crazy. She thought the baby was Jungwook's child, but it turned out to be Sehyok's. Yura used the baby as an excuse to stay at Sehyok's house. At this moment, Yura was extremely desperate. Living in a small house was no different from hell to her. Junghae knew that Yura lived at Sehyok's house and didn't want her daughter to suffer, so she still thought about told Yura to fake the DNA test results to marry into a rich family. Yura angrily asked Sehyok to see the outcome when she did that. Until now, Junghae still hasn't regretted it. She hates Yeju for stealing everything from her and hopes that Yura will take revenge for her. Yura no longer has the will to fight. Today, she came here to ask her mother for money. Unfortunately, her mother's personal assets have been frozen and there's not much money left. Seeing that her mother can't help her, Yura left. Before leaving, Yura told Sehyok that she wouldn't visit Sehyok in prison anymore. She hopes that after her mother gets out, her mother won't come looking for her. Now the evil Junghae has been completely abandoned by Yura. Unlike Junghae and Yura, Yeju and her biological mother are very close. The two sat across from each other to eat and chat, enjoying their private time. Yeju is about to register her marriage with Do-guk. This is good news. Yeju's biological mother also talked about her love life. She decided not to get back together with Yeju's father and treat each other as friends. Yeju respected her mother's decision and continued to bow her head to taste the delicious food. After meeting her mother, Yeju wanted to quickly go on a date with Do-guk. The two of them went to register their marriage first and then started dating as an official couple. Yeju took Do-guk to the place where they first met after returning to the past. She took out her hotel room card and imitated Do-guk's appearance in the past. Do-guk reacted by laughing out loud. Yeju waited for Do-guk's reaction when he suddenly knelt down on one knee. He took out the ring that contained his sincerity and personally put it on Yeju. Yeju hugged the person she loved. At this moment, she felt protected by happiness and was the happiest woman in the world. Do-guk helped Yeju up and carried her up to prepare to go upstairs to enjoy their wedding night. Time passed by in a flash. A year passed. The family of 3 happily took family photos at home. Previously, Yeju felt that happiness was too extravagant for her. She believed that happiness existed, but she was not the lucky one to be favored by happiness. After meeting Do-guk, her world changed greatly. She married the person she loved and had children. Even a normal day became different because of love. Above is the entire content of the movie. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.